Philadelphia, Manager Salciunas, alongside my man John Kincade. Day 2 of Radio Row here in New Orleans. Johnny, it was a lot of fun in day 1. We got a packed show today. Good morning, brother.
We have so much to get to, so much we're going to be talking about. And I'm excited because I think today is the insight day.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think today is like a really great day of insight. And it was nice yesterday hearing from Thomas Dimitrov and Sumer Sports where the analytics tell them 71% of the time the Birds are hoisting a trophy on
And what
Sunday.
was the final score? At least we don't know the final score, but how many points? A field goal,
He
Johnny.
said a field goal preference. By the way,
I
had to go read it, and it was 3.4. Now, if it was 3.6, I'd feel a little better because
3.4.
If it comes down to Missy Elliott, as we thank the best show ever for their fine
man.
thing.
He's Jake this week, baby. He's
Jake
Elliott this week,
Yeah.
and he's going to win it for the Birds on Sunday.
It's so great to be here, and everybody, the excitement is building towards a big Sunday night.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we had another night last night in New Orleans. You just walk around. Everybody is feeling it. Everybody's feeling that the Eagles are going to win on Sunday. And everybody that's not an Eagles fan, we talked about this a lot yesterday, everybody that's not an Eagles or Chiefs fan down here is riding with the Birds, right? They want to see the Eagles beat the Chiefs. So a lot of fun yesterday, continues today. And, John, you sent me a text last night. Now, I don't know if this was –
Well, it wasn't drunken because I only had 2.5 alcoholic drinks yesterday.
I don't know if you may have been because you said something that I was kind of alarmed by. And look.
No, that's not the first time you've said that.
Not. I need to make this clear. We are not having the "is Sunday a must-win game" conversation. That's not happening.
But
go ahead. I want you to tell me what tell the people what you texted me yesterday about the sense of urgency for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I listened to Darius Slay yesterday, and how important it is to him to play one more year, and how he wants it to be with the Eagles. But it brought to my mind the urgency to win Super Bowl 59 because of the fact that we do have a great team. We do have the better team. And we both agree, and I think our listeners and fan base agree, there's a large window of opportunity here for the Eagles franchise to knock on the door of doing this in many years to come. But I do believe we will never be in a better position to do it than we are this year, this time, right now. I glanced at next year's schedule. I looked at who we have to try to re-sign. Milton Williams and Zach Bond. Do you bring back Darius Slay? What we have to do, we have to draft a replacement. We have to put our draft replacement now to reinforcing the offensive line. So to me, I look at it as we will never have as good an opportunity, even if we got back here next year, as good as we have this year.
You sound like an alarmist to me this morning.
I don't think that's alarmist. I think it's you meant ist. What you meant to say was, John, you sound like a realist.
No, dude.
It doesn't change my opinion on, I think they're winning Sunday night.
Right.
I believe we're winning. But I believe we should all have a sense of urgency to it because, this is the best opportunity.
I'm amazed by that because I get it. You have to start thinking about the future, right? If Darius Slay were to move on from the Eagles after this year. You mentioned the Lane Johnson replacement. You have to do that at some point, even though he already confirmed that he's going to be playing next season.
Right.
And we love that. But here's the deal. Quinyon Mitchell will get another year under his belt.
He will.
Jalen Carter, another year under his belt. Look at the growth that we saw from Jalen Carter year 1 to year 2. Jordan Davis, he's going to be on that 5th-year option season, right? These guys are getting better and better, these younger players. This team is here to stay, which is which is why there are people writing about dynasty. We're not having that conversation. You got to win first, and you got to win on Sunday. We're not having that conversation. But I don't think it's like, if it doesn't happen Sunday, it won't happen again in another year soon.
This is why we don't do the show before the show, because I was willing to make you a wager.
Okay.
And I'm willing to make a bold wager.
All right.
Like I'm willing to make I'll dye my hair blonde wager.
Wow, jeez.
That Saquon Barkley will never be able to recreate what he did this year.
Oh, I agree
next
with you.
year.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Why are we here? The main reason that this team is here is because Saquon Barkley had one of those transformational career seasons. And I'm not going to get into it now. It's something for the offseason, but I've done a ton of research on this. To expect a running back to even come close to what kind of production they gave us this year is a real That's wishing and hoping that I'm not willing to do.
Well, okay, he goes from 2,000 yards to 1,600 yards.
I'm going to tell
and
you.
And Jalen Hurts is now a better thrower next year with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert.
Yes, is Dallas Goedert back?
Well, for maybe another year or two, and then you bring in the replacement that you draft that the Eagles always do well with.
Last year of Goddard, last year of Lane Johnson potentially. I mean, there's a lot of window of opportunity that we're talking about here, and I do believe it's going to be a long window. But this team, you're going to replace Milton Williams, most likely, correct? You're going to replace Milton Williams.
I'll be honest. You talk about Milton Williams as if he's Jalen Carter sometimes. He's a very good player, good rotational guy.
Okay, Josh Sweat, are you replacing him?
Yeah, I can replace 8-7.
Is there a chance in your mind that they lose Milton Williams and Josh Sweat?
There's a possibility.
Okay, then I'm telling you right now, if you lose Milton Williams, you lose Josh Sweat, and then you potentially lose one other key player. Let's say it's Slay. Let's say it's Goddard, whatever. Your odds of making it back next year, where is it next year? San Fran. Your odds of making it to San Francisco are far less.
Okay.
Far less.
Dude, I think it's amazing. You sent that text last night. I read it again this morning. I'm like, man, my mind is not even close to being there. And look, it's hard to win in the NFL. We know that. But we're watching a team going for their third straight Super Bowl championship in the Kansas City Chiefs. Like the Eagles, the NFC, let's also talk about the NFC. NFC's not like the stacked conference.
It isn't.
But the division, I get it, the rise of Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. You want to talk about replacing players. They have a laundry list of players that they need to replace.
They do.
It's the Eagles division still to own over the next couple of years.
And there are questions in Detroit about their coordinators. But I doubt that Detroit will be decimated by injury next year. I believe that Jordan Love and the Packers will be better from the experience that they gained this year. I'm telling you that I think the Chicago Bears will be better when Ben Johnson gets in there and starts messing around. I think the idea is where we're talking about you don't want to be confident, Philadelphia.
Right,
be confident.
Right, absolutely.
I think part of that is realizing the opportunity that sits in front of you and that this crew, this team at this time needs to hoist a Lombardi. Because I am not confident that the stars will all align again, even though the six planets are going to align like perfectly Saturday night.
How about that one?
How about that one for you?
That's good, man.
I saw this on the news today as I'm getting dressed.
Johnny Astronomy, man.
Six planets. My very excellent mother just served us 9 pizzas. Did you know that's how you know the planets and how they align.
I'm a PEMDAS guy.
That's how you align
for math.
And so it's Kate, please close the front gate softly. So it's like you bounce them there. Saturday night, the planets are aligning. I want them to align Sunday night for us.
So it's cosmic for the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. I love that, man.
No, that's cosmic.
Come on, man. I thought we were done with this when the Eagles beat the Commanders. I didn't have to hear the Sam Cosmi joke anymore. All right, so we're broadcasting live from Radio Row.
You underestimated me.
Day 2
Never
here
do that.
in New Orleans. All of our coverage, of course, being brought to us by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. And, of course, big thank you to our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Visit TrueMark.com or one of the 24 local branches to learn more. So the topic today, obviously we're talking Eagles-Chiefs all day today. We got a lot of great guests and a lot of great insight coming your way today that we'll give to you up until the Mike Missanelli show at 10 o'clock. But our topic today is whether or not you feel like there's a sense of urgency for the Eagles to win this one, for the Eagles to win on Sunday, Super Bowl 59. No, we're not doing the must-win game conversation.
I believe what we're going to find out today is that people agree with me. And I believe I was dumb enough to think it this morning as I'm brushing my teeth that our man CT18 is probably going to be in agreement about this.
CT18 back at the studio. Connor, where are you at on this?
Where am I at on this? I can't believe this is even a thought in somebody's head.
Wow.
Yes.
So much for that.
This is the text I got last night. I'm like, what? This is what's going on through your head right now? But, hey, I get what Johnny's saying, but I think the Eagles are here to stay,
I
man.
think the majority of fans will agree with me.
All right, we'll talk about it. We'd love to hear from you.
The stars have aligned for this team.
610-632-0975. So coming up next, Nick Sirianni spoke on this team and how he's developed into being the CEO head coach, which I did really appreciate yesterday. Also, Tim McManus spoke on Sirianni's growth, which is why I'm saying, John, get used to this. Get used to the Birds playing in conference championships. Get used to the Eagles playing in the Super Bowl. They're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. It is Kincade and Salciunas on this Thursday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Charles Barkley with Mike Missanelli on the Eagles.
Well, we got the best team. When you have the best team, you should always feel confident. Now, they probably got the best player, but we got the best team, and we're going to win the Super Bowl, brother. We're going to win.
On the 76ers.
Do they have a chance? 100% they have a chance. Do I
This hour of Kincade and Salciunas is presented by Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White, they're here for the pro.
It is 6:14 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. All right, so we're going to play some audio for you. But again, our topic today is the sense of urgency conversation. John texted it to me last night, and I get where you're coming from. It's just not even a thought on my mind, as Connor mentioned. But also,
I'm glad, by the way. I'm glad that it's not a thought in your minds.
Yeah.
Because it's like everybody's minds work differently. I wish it wasn't a thought in mine.
Well,
I honestly do.
Look, you are logical, John. We've had
Yes.
this conversation. You wear many hats, and Johnny Logic is one of them. Connor, so you said it right before we went to break. You were like, I can't even believe this is a thought in your mind. Now, do you say that because the Super Bowl's in 2 days or in 3 days, or are you saying that because you think this team's built to stay, which is what I say? Like, when John sent me that text, it wasn't just not a thought in my mind. I also just disagree with it.
I mean, it's both. First off, we have a game to take care of, so I'm not really worrying about what's happening to players after this game. Also, I got a little bit of crap for wanting to talk about Myles Garrett, so this feels like it throws in the face of that. But the other thing, like the guys you're mentioning, we could have said the same thing a couple years ago about guys like, I don't know, Javon Hargrave or Hassan Reddick or James Bradbury with the season he was having. You're back again this year without those guys on the team, or with Bradbury not playing.
Okay,
all
but
year.
where were you the year after those guys?
Yeah, you took a down step, but that
you were
wasn't.
Well, that's what I'm
10 and
saying.
1,
But
Johnny.
John,
point.
we're not saying three-peat or four-peat or back-to-back Super Bowl champions. I'm just saying, like, all right, you win this year, and next year you lose in the divisional round of the playoffs, but then the next year you're back at it. Like,
Okay.
that's okay. Like, I take that. Would you sign up for that right now?
If you win this year, I'd sign up for a lot of things.
Yeah,
I don't even want to mention
that's what I'm
them.
saying.
But I lied to God in 2017, so I don't want to do that again. Because how many times can you lie to God?
you don't want to do that
I think
much
he's a
more.
very forgiving
Yeah.
guy, from what I hear.
You don't want to do that much more.
Yeah, I'm especially about football games.
Now, part of the reason why I feel so comfortable saying they're here to stay, I want to play this clip from Nick Sirianni here yesterday because he was being asked more about, hey, your role changed as the head coach. You're now the CEO head coach, right? And remember that how weird it was before the season started. Like,
Yes, awkward.
What's your job? To be the head coach.
What is it you do here?
He didn't really have an answer for you, but now he had one yesterday. Here he is talking about being there for the players and setting a culture.
There's a lot, obviously, to do during a game as far as managing a football game and all the things that go into that, with decisions that go into that, and 2-minute football, 4-minute football, fourth down decisions, everything that it goes there. And so on game day, that's what I'm focused on. As far as during the week and things like that, still go to a lot of different meetings and talk through a lot of the game planning with the offense. It's about setting the culture. It's about being able to go to different things, being able, if a player needs you, to be able to step out of a meeting, to be able to meet with that player. There are a lot of different things that go into it. Calling plays is one portion of it that some coaches do and some coaches don't.
Like, that answer, again, shows his growth.
I just don't. I swear to you, when I heard it, first of all, I'm applauding Nick on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wonder why he didn't have that answer in August.
Because he didn't know what to say.
How did he not know? That's very logical what he said.
Because he got taken to the SPCA
and got neutered.
And he was probably like, I don't know. And now he knows because this is his first year as the true CEO head coach. And he's going, all right, I've now experienced it. I now know what to say. I can now answer it. And it was a great answer.
It was a great answer.
And so we've seen his growth. So coming up next, hear from Tim McManus, who joined the best show ever yesterday. He covers the team inside and out. He's with Nick Sirianni probably, 3 or 4 times a week.
I mean, he knows it, and he writes it really well,
and
too.
He spoke on Sirianni's growth. You'll hear from Tim McManus coming up next. Also, the FU attitude. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Jalen Hurts can prove a lot of people wrong on Sunday. We'll talk about that next as well. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The desire to win. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Hand & Stone. Roses, chocolates, predictable. This Valentine's Day, give a gift from Hand & Stone. Save $30 on a 1-hour massage or facial, or get $60 off our Serenity package. Go online or visit one of the 60 spas in this area to purchase today. Restrictions apply. See spa for details. Go ahead and check them out. The Eagles got some good injury news yesterday as we get to just 3 days from Super Bowl Sunday. Both Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were full participants in practice today after limping through the NFC Championship game game. Jalen Hurts talked yesterday about the desire to win outweighing stats.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
Well, it's not just the quarterback. This team obviously has the desire to win. You saw that from those two linemen that we mentioned before. We'll see if they have one more in them. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. for Super Bowl 59 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. Also made another trade, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. The Sixers are now under the luxury tax for this season. Flyers play the Caps tonight at 7 p.m. You can hear that game live here on the Fanatic. Busy day here guest-wise. Andrew DiCecco will join us for the 7 a.m. hour. Matt Ryan at 7:55. Kurt Warner at 8:55. Kevin Negandhi at 9:10 and Steve Weish at 9:40. This update's brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation repair since 1997. Book your free inspection at groundworks.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Hey, it's Ricky Metallico from the
Salciunas 97.5, the Fanatic, day 2 of Kincade and Salciunas on Radio Row live in New Orleans. All presented to us by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel, Johnny.
Everybody be careful back home.
Yes.
Because there is, I showed you the pictures. We were looking back on the live Landview cam, checking back at the house, and it is icy.
Yeah, it's just like an
so
ice
be careful.
storm. Yeah, so
it is. Be careful out there. And I was talking to our superstar, Haley. If you've been following along on all of the social media, Haley's done an amazing job of getting that up there, and
yes,
Dylan McKinnon, too.
Yep.
Great job. We appreciate everybody. So follow along with us. You did Instagram Live last night, which were fun.
I did an IG Live last night on Bourbon Street, did an IG Live yesterday afternoon here on Radio Row. So we're giving you a lot of access to what's going on, especially if you're not down here. And obviously, we wish every Eagles fan could be down here right now. But it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a lot of fun doing the show.
It has been.
And today's gonna be a big day. We're gonna promote the hell out of our guest list coming up in a little bit.
Matt Ryan
we got a big one.
Matt Ryan has given me the thumbs up.
Yes, we got Matt Ryan coming up today.
He has to get 2 kindergarten boys ready for school.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck.
It's like herding cats.
All right, so I want to play one more clip about Nick Sirianni as we continue to have this conversation about the sense of urgency for the Eagles to win on Sunday. I believe they're here for the long run, and we played that clip from Nick Sirianni last segment. If you missed it, it's just you could tell how much he has grown, because when he was asked about, hey, what do you do here as the head coach before the season started,
yes,
he didn't have an answer. The
Which
question
I couldn't believe.
No, it was crazy. But the question was sort of asked yesterday, and that answer that he gave shows you the growth that he has gone through. And we're going to play you something from Jalen Hurts in a little bit, and we'll talk about his growth. But here's Tim McManus yesterday with the best show ever. Tim's there every day, right? He's covering the Eagles inside and out. He knows Nick Sirianni, knows him well. Here's McManus talking about the growth of Sirianni.
I feel like Sirianni has done a nice job of channeling it better. It's obviously a work in progress. He made the joke, like, it's hard to undo, like, 40-plus years of habit. So it's not like he's perfect, nor is he expected to be. But I think even from the Cleveland Browns game on, where he obviously got heated and went after a fan, and it felt like a sort of unstable team at that time. And oftentimes teams will take their cues from the head coach. And so part of his growth has been learning just how to channel it, when to let it loose. And I think he still shows it, and players appreciate that, and they don't want him to just do this 180 and be something that he's not, because then he goes into fraud territory. Like, they like that he's authentic, even if it's not understood necessarily from the outside. But he's picking his spots. A lot of the emotion that you're seeing now is behind the scenes, and he's more calm-handed, I think, in a public setting in key moments in big games. And I would say that's one area where he's definitely grown since the last time these guys played in the Super Bowl.
And the thing is, right, the players talk about how they want him to be authentic. We read that, speaking of Tim McManus, we read his article about a month ago about how authentic he is. And Jordan Mailata, remember, he said
he absolutely did.
Do we want him to be a little bit more professional at times?
Can he
yes.
Can he be immature at times? I think it was the
can
he be immature at times?
He straight up said yes. He's immature at times.
If any one of our bosses was legitimately put on Truth Serum, they could all say, John's great at this, and he's awesome at this. But you know what? He can be a flaming pain in the backside about this. So
Nobody's ever said anything about that when it comes
Nick
to you,
Sirianni,
John.
not to my face, Nick Sirianni, though, it's just the same way. You know, it's the same way. He's learned on the job. I've been so impressed, and I was one of his biggest critics about his antics.
Yeah.
I've been so impressed.
And look, he deserved the criticism. Trust me.
But I will praise him just as loudly when he's turned it around and he's made it a positive.
All right, awesome. Now, the other thing I want to get into here is the FU attitude.
Oh, I love it.
So yesterday we were joined by Thomas Dimitroff, who used to be the general manager of the Atlanta Falcons. So you know him pretty well. And
he drafted Matt Ryan, first thing he ever did.
We'll be talking to later on the show. So yesterday he was talking about Jalen Hurts because, look, you get it. You hear what people say about Jalen Hurts on the national stage, here locally, and there's always a tone, right? It's never always like, hey, Jalen Hurts is just a winner, right? It's always, yeah, he wins, but, right? So yesterday, Thomas Dimitroff talked about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni, both of them, about the FU attitude of this team.
Yeah, I think he kicked everyone right back in the whatever we call it, right? I don't even know what I can say on the radio anymore.
You can say a lot of things. Private parts.
Okay, private parts. But I think he did. And he's such a competitive guy, and he's got, we all have a little FU to us, right? Like, all right, you guys going to doubt me? I mean, Howie's been saying that to me forever, right? He's got FU in him as well. I remember he was cussing some guy out on the field. Was that a year ago?
Yeah. Now you like me.
Yeah, now you like me, right?
I mean, and this team is showing it. Like, there's been so much doubt, which is why part of the topic yesterday was, do you believe that there are extra things that go into a game? And I do. I get it. The Chiefs are motivated, too. They're trying to make history.
They're just as motivated.
They're trying to make history, but there's just a different buzz that surrounds the Eagles going into this game than the Chiefs. If the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl, are they going to be devastated? Yeah, obviously to an extent, but I think the loss for the Eagles would be more painful than it would be for the Chiefs.
I think it'd be much more painful. And I would put it in an example like this. Excuse me. We had a really spectacular meal last night.
Mm-hmm.
If you had a spectacular meal like that 4 or 5 times a week, you would never appreciate it as much as we all did walking out of that restaurant last night. There is a hunger for the birds to have that kind of meal.
I'm sorry, there's a what?
Hungry dogs run fast.
Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
No, they're not dogs. They're they should be the favorites.
We haven't seen any masks
They're the
around
better
here
team,
yet.
thankfully. And I'm so proud of the Birds fans that are down here because nobody's pulling
Everybody's
that.
owning it.
Nobody's pulling that. And the line moving to 1 yesterday on my Bet Parks app. I have a feeling we're going to see it move to a half.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be in the Eagles' favor by kickoff.
Could very well happen.
I do.
You do?
Very, very small.
Oh, you do think it's going to move
I think
that
the money's
much?
going to come in on the Eagles.
Now, Friday night is supposed to be what we're really watching for, though. This is when a lot of the sharp money will come in.
Right.
Like Friday. Once they've heard every little whisper that comes out of the practices, every little thing, because they've got ears.
Yes, they do.
There's people around teams who are clout chasers,
right,
who want to give information to, things like that. We'll find out. But I think that's what it is when you talk about it. The Chiefs are very motivated, but the Birds want to eat at that fine restaurant a hell of a lot more right now.
Absolutely. Now, one more clip for you to play here. Jalen Hurts yesterday. We just talked about the growth of Nick Sirianni. That answer that he gave about what his role is as being the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, how different it was, as you mentioned, from August to yesterday, just days before the Super Bowl. He is owning this moment. So is Jalen Hurts. Here he was talking about the doubters, which he has a lot of them, and how they fuel him.
Do you secretly like that extra motivation when people are doubting you for extra fuel?
There's no secret.
So what does it do for you to take you to that next level?
It's just who I am, and my mentality and my approach is always to find ways to better myself, and it's always looking internal first, and then looking at my teammates and how I can better the guys around me as well. So, I've always been focused on what I'm asked to do and can I do it at a high level, and then also processing the way that I'm being taught to see the game, and then how I already see the game. And then obviously you have that burning desire to win. So all of those things are a priority to me.
So yesterday, John.
Gosh, there's another great answer.
Exactly.
It's
and so
another really good answer.
We're walking out of here yesterday, right? We were here probably for another hour and a half doing a bunch of post-show stuff. And as we're walking out, Scott Graham walks in.
We saw you finally met Scott Graham.
Finally met Scott Graham. Big fan of Scott Graham. And we just talked about him on the air the other day. You guys know who Scott Graham is, right? He was former voice on Phillies broadcasts and obviously does a lot of stuff on the national stage. And so he does the halftime coverage, pregame coverage on Westwood One, and he sat down with Jalen Hurts for what was supposed to be like 8 minutes.
And it was 18.
For 18
Because Scott Graham doesn't follow the rules, I can tell you that. He's a rule breaker. I know that for a fact.
But the thing is, he said to us exactly what we've been saying this week. He's like, I spoke with a different Jalen Hurts.
I love it.
It's unbelievable.
So is it confidence, you believe?
I think it's confidence. I think it's eagerness to prove people wrong. And that's why I love what Thomas Dimitroff said that we just played for you earlier. There is an FU attitude from this team. Everyone's talking about the Chiefs going for a three-peat. They're like, hey, we're here too. And we were just here 2 years ago, and we want to win revenge. I love it. All right, coming up next. What was a reaction from players when Saquon Barkley signed? How about from a player on the opposition? Chris Jones talked about Saquon Barkley. It's a clip you're going to want to hear. Also, we got a lot coming your way today. We'll tell you exactly what's going on here on Kincade and Salciunas, live from Radio Row here in New Orleans on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Tyrone Johnson.
There are two major
and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It is 6:40 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. I apologize. Going to the break, I had a stroke. Opposition. I struggle with a couple of words going into the commercial break.
Only a couple?
Well, Andrew DiCecco is coming up.
Yeah, see, that's
so
why
our resident
I tap into the
wordsmith.
bullpen. Yeah, exactly.
Our resident wordsmith, Andrew DiCecco.
He dropped some words last night.
He did at dinner. He was
amalgam.
He was spitting them out. Well, he did that on the show with us yesterday.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Amalgam.
Dude's incredible.
Now, I was a little surprised that some at the table did not know what amalgam meant, but you've all heard the term amalgamated.
Yeah.
So I thought you'd be able to get the amalgam out of it. That's why everybody needs to take Latin.
Nah.
Every kid should have 1 year of Latin.
I'm done with that, man.
It's just a group of stuff.
Yeah, well,
correct.
Yeah, I don't need to do that.
Correct.
All right, so before we play the Chris Jones audio that went around yesterday and we promote the show that we got coming up, because we got a big one that I'm mentioning, Andrew DiCecco, a lot of other guests as well, I do want to check the text line because I know people are already chiming in so far this morning about the sense of urgency discussion that we're having. You texted me last night. You were like, hey, I need this to happen now.
Yes, because the Eagles cannot count on all the stars lining up like this. 2 years ago, 22 starters healthy. This year, 21 starters healthy from the beginning of the year. Last year, it was not that. You cannot count on everything lining up for you this way. That's why it is not in any way. I believe they're winning Sunday night.
Yes.
I'm going to slide the points up to 9.5. I am confident in this team that they're getting this done. But you have to have the attitude that when it's there, take it. The low-hanging fruit is there. Take it. They will never be in a better position than they're in this year, right now, next year.
All right,
There's no way.
What are the people saying, Connor? You can text the show, call the show at 610-632-0975. I was shocked when I received this text last night, but I'm open to talk about it. What are the people saying, Connor?
First text we got this morning, no name on this one, but they say, I agree with John completely here. Our big older stars windows are closing, so this is the time to get the ring, which will give us more exposure and help players want to join the team and begin a dynasty of our own. Go Birds.
I don't think the Eagles winning the Super Bowl would get or not get a free agent.
I think you're crazy. I think
Dude, they're in the Super Bowl.
I understand, but there's something about being the Chiefs brand and being the Eagles brand. The Eagles brand is a non-sustainable brand. The Eagles brand is one that shows up in 17, shows up in 22, shows up in 24. That's really, really good.
But this is a different team, and we've talked about that.
I understand, but if you win, you validate the process. If you win, you validate that these guys and all these young guys are going to be around. You don't think the process is
validated that they're here?
No.
Really?
No, I think it's great. Look,
dude, they're conference champions, period, and the story already.
I think the Eagles brand is just reaffirmed. But I think with another Super Bowl, the second in 8 seasons, the second Super Bowl in 3 years, but you come away with a ring this time. We all know what the talking point will be on Monday if this team loses. First of all, that they lost a Super Bowl that they shouldn't have lost. And second of all, we all agree they should win on Sunday. So that's going to be the storyline. Can't get over the hump. Jalen Hurts can't get it done. We know how the talking points changes. You don't think players listen to that too? You don't think players go, yeah, maybe that is.
Yeah, but this is year one of DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, year two of Jalen Carter. Like, this is – I don't want to say – there's obviously a core on this team that was here 2 years ago, right?
Okay.
But there's a whole new core that's going to be here for a long time.
Matthew Stafford was a really good stats compiler in his career, and that ring changed everything for him. Matt Ryan, who we'll talk to in a little over an hour, Matt Ryan is a guy who didn't get the ring when he had that opportunity to get it. His numbers, he should stroll into Canton, and I believe he still will, but he should have strolled into Canton.
But we're not talking about the careers being over. This is just starting for a lot of guys.
But the thing is, you don't know when you're going to get the other opportunity. I'm sure that Dan Marino thought, oh, second year in the NFL, I'm going to get back to a lot of Super Bowls. That's not the way it goes. You have to take advantage when you take the bite at the apple. Get it.
All right, what else are people saying?
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
I was going to say, that's a slightly different argument. Like, the take advantage when you get here is one thing, right? Because you never know. You could be in great position. You never know when you're going to get back. But I think it's crazy to look at this Eagles team and say they're not sustainable, proven already.
No,
right,
it's not, Connor.
Proven.
It's not the talent. It's the opportunity. You are not going to have. Do you know how many teams, by the way? Do you know how many teams have gone to the Super Bowl with 21 of their starters healthy? in the modern era since the Houston Texans have come
Probably
in.
doesn't happen often.
Well, I know the Birds did it 2 years ago with 22.
They did it 2 years ago. How about 4 Super Bowl champs? 4. So think about it. It doesn't happen like this, guys. We can say all we want
but I
about.
also
Look
saw
at all
them,
the young
I saw
talent.
them win a
Look at all
Super Bowl
this.
when they lost a bunch of players.
And you absolutely can. And you can believe that that's going to happen. If you don't believe that was lightning in a bottle, if you don't believe that was a out of left field thing that needed a bunch of happy things to happen, by the way, to happen. Let's take advantage of it. Let's say you're the best team. Take advantage of it because it's necessary.
All right, well, good thing we get to talk to fellow football guy Andrew DiCecco
Don't
about
say
this.
fellow football
about this
guy.
in a little bit.
Not with you. You're doing this Lily stuff.
By the way,
morning.
we have a lot going on today. So Andrew DiCecco is going to be with us for the entire 7 o'clock
He did make
hour.
it here.
Well, he's ready to go. Come
He's
on,
walking.
man.
He's walking in a bad neighborhood to get here every morning.
Did you
and
think
it
that he
pisses me
wouldn't
off.
have made it? Come on. So Andrew DiCecco with us for the entire 7 o'clock hour. Our man Matt Ryan is going to be joining us around 7:55 today. He's going to be calling in. The rest of the show, the guests will be here on site. Kurt Warner at 9 o'clock, Kevin Negandhi at 9:10,
and
Steve Weich at 9:40.
You're going to get your first Kevin Negandhi hug.
Well, and that's the beauty of radio. I text Kevin about, hey, how's your family doing? I've never met him in person.
It's so crazy.
I've been talking to him for years.
When you said that yesterday, a fellow Temple guy and everything like that, when you said that to me, I couldn't believe it. That is
it's the beauty of radio,
And
man.
last night at dinner, you got to finally shake hands, get a little bro hug with Adam Schefter. You had never met Adam Schefter before.
That's my man Adam Schefter.
So
now we're best pals, man.
Now there's that connection there. So it's got it going on.
All right, so a big show today that we got for you coming up. I do want to play this for you. So yesterday, Chris Jones spoke to the media, of course, plays for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he was asked about the moment the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley and what his reaction was. It's a great one. Take a listen.
You saw that the Eagles signed Saquon Barkley. What did you think? Did you think he'd have the success he's having this season?
I said, oh, we're in trouble. The league is in trouble. Like LeBron said, I seen it happening. I was sitting on my couch, and obviously they're about to get Saquon. I could see it. I don't know why I said it. I just felt like that. And that's what happened. They got Saquon.
I love, bleep. We're in trouble.
I love that answer.
It's honest, yeah.
It's an honest answer, and I love it. That's great.
All right. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. All right, give us one more text, Connor. You can text the show, call the show, 610-632-0975. The sense of urgency discussion that we're having today, the first texter did agree with you. Now, it was a no-name text, so it could have been you sending in the text for all I know.
No, you know my number.
What are the people saying, Connor?
All right, this one has a name on it, so we're going to count it as more legitimate. Kaleem from Northeast Philly says
What's up,
it's
Kaleem?
only a must-win because we're here now, and you could start something special. In parentheses, he puts D word. But the Eagles have now gotten to the Super Bowl twice in 3 years, 2 different ways. This team is built to win the chip for years to come. Go Birds.
And this,
okay, well,
this
wait a minute.
one's
That's
different.
great.
This
but
one's
if
better,
you,
though.
But okay, here's what I'm going to hear, and here's where that comment and that text is not smart. Oh yeah,
I think it's smart,
if
Kaleem.
they lose again on Sunday night, then that means 2 of the last 3 years they've been there, and they were not built to win the chip. They didn't win it. You're not built to win the chip.
If you're,
unless you win it.
in the Super Bowl, you are built.
No,
Alex Smith
you got
over
to
here.
win it.
That
Win
does
it.
sound Alex Smith-like.
No, win the chip. Enough of this getting close crap. For God's sakes, boys.
My God.
Boys, I need you to step
What was
up.
in your drinks last night? My God.
I don't know.
You're listening to Kincade and Salciunas as we broadcast live here from Radio Row in New Orleans, all presented to us by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Our man Andrew DiCecco joins us starting next for the entire 7 o'clock hour. We'll continue to hear from you. I'm curious, what does Andrew DiCecco think about this conversation? Also, Andrew spoke with like 100,000 people yesterday, both with the Eagles and with the Chiefs, including Carson Wentz. So we talked to Andrew DiCecco for the entire hour. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles showing their desire. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles got some good injury news yesterday as we get to just 3 days from Super Bowl Sunday. Both Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were full participants in practice according to the injury report. And remember, those guys were limping through the NFC Championship game. It was a gutsy performance by them. And Jalen Hurts talked about having gutsy performances and the desire to win outweighing stats.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
This team has certainly shown the desire so far this postseason, but we'll see if they have one more in them. Sunday, 6:30 p.m. for Super Bowl 59 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. They also made another trade yesterday, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. Team is now under the luxury tax for this season. Flyers play the Capitals tonight at 7 p.m. That game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The guys will talk to Andrew DiCecco for the entire 7 a.m. hour. Matt Ryan at 7:55. Kurt Warner at 8:55. Kevin Negandhi at night 10. And Steve Weish at 9:40. This update is brought to you by Jackson Hewitt. It matters who does your taxes. Want expert tax prep? Jackson Hewitt will give you $100 to switch. Limited time offer for new clients. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
The Mike Missanelli Show, live from Radio Row in New Orleans.
The skill set of Jalen Hurts probably would not match those quarterbacks that he mentioned. But does it matter if you win? Just like Montana.
With Bill Colarulo.
You got to look at the big picture, and we've talked about it before. What Jalen does
Day 2 of Radio Row. John and I here in New Orleans, and of course all of our coverage here in New Orleans is being brought to us by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Love our friends at FanDuel. We really appreciate that. Also, now joining us for the entire 7 o'clock hour, our man Andrew DiCecco is here, and he's brought to us by Tompkins Bank, man. Andrew, good morning. What's going on, brother?
Good morning, guys. Great to be with you. Where else would you rather be? Day 2 of Radio Row with you guys.
You are festive, too. You are wearing New Orleans style.
Hey, he looks good.
You are. You're looking great.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I always try to make it, I take a lot of pride in my appearance, but,
You do.
Dude, yesterday, you spoke to, like, everybody. How many people do you think you spoke to yesterday?
87. No, I don't know. 87 is that number that keeps popping up.
That number keeps popping up.
But, man, you've talked to a lot of people yesterday. Obviously, big media day for a lot of the individuals for the Eagles. Obviously, media day for people with the Chiefs. You spoke with Carson Wentz for a little bit yesterday. And I know you've been busy. You've been talking to people all week long. So I always like to get this update from you. The mindset of the Eagles players, right? We've been talking about how they've been owning the moment here in New Orleans. You got a chance to talk to a lot more people yesterday. What's the vibe that you're getting from these guys as they're getting closer and closer to Super Bowl 59?
They're just solely focused on the task at hand. They're prepared, they're confident, and they're really poised. The moment's not too big for any player that's really had an opportunity to, whether they're stepping on the podium or whether they're seated at the table and you're just talking to them. They're just very collected, and a lot of the veterans have really led them. They showed them the way. They know what to expect, and they're not caught by surprise, and they're not letting the moment absorb them, I would say.
Is it a different feeling than you had back in Arizona?
It absolutely is.
Okay, give us some tangible reasons why that is, why you're feeling that way.
Because for so many of those players, John, it was their first opportunity experiencing that. And when your schedule is completely altered, there's so many distractions. Also, the logistics. Everything was so far away. Here, everything's pretty. The Eagles are practicing at the
really
Superdome,
close,
and a lot of things are in walking distance or in a short shuttle bus distance. So they have that knowledge of what it takes, what their routine's going to be like, but they also have logistics working in their favor as well. So all that really matters when you're talking about a game of this magnitude when two teams are so closely comparable.
Now, two guys that we've highlighted today, obviously head coach and quarterback, seems like we do that all the time, but Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts spoke yesterday, and the growth of both of them is incredible. So Sirianni was asked about, what is it that you do? Can we play that again, Connor? I want to play that so that Andrew DiCecco can hear it. Nick Sirianni yesterday was basically asked, hey, what do you do as the head coach? You're not a play caller. And remember, back in August, he didn't have an answer. He had no clue what he was going to say when that question was asked. He was almost caught off guard by the question. A lot different yesterday. Take a listen.
There's a lot, obviously, to do during a game as far as managing a football game and all the things that go into that, with decisions that go into that, and 2-minute football, 4-minute football, fourth down decisions, everything that it goes there. And so on game day, that's what I'm focused on. As far as during the week and things like that, still go to a lot of different meetings and talk through a lot of the game planning with the offense. It's about setting the culture. It's about being able to go to different things, being able, if a player needs you, to be able to step out of a meeting, to be able to meet with that player. There are a lot of different things that go into it. Calling plays is one portion of it that some coaches do and some coaches don't.
Did you catch that one part of that answer? I still go to a lot of meetings and go over things with guys on the offense. It's Vic's show.
Oh, okay.
Because we saw that on the Miami Hard Knocks when he literally sent that little nerd, what's his name,
McDaniel, most overrated coach ever,
out of his rooms.
Yeah,
we don't need you here. And he thought it was a big laugh. Nick's finding his way. He's finding his footing.
He really is. And I think when we look back on the story of the 2024 Eagles, we're going to look back at a coach who in year 4 really, really turned the corner. He has the pulse. He has the temperature of that locker room. And when you have all 53 players really believing in you with conviction, that's not an easy task. And I don't think that should be overlooked here when you look at this team, because you see the confidence, you see how abbreviated he is with his answers in some degree.
Which is a lot different for him, man.
Yeah,
a lot different.
He's a little bit more guarded. He's a little bit more strategic in what he says and what he puts out there. And, man, I got to tell you, when you hear every player on the podium and they're asked about Nick Sirianni, they all speak glowingly about him, and it almost feels like they want to win this one for him, as much as they want to win it for themselves.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Again, we're joined by our man Andrew DiCecco, who's brought to us by Tompkins Community Bank, your bank of choice. And all of us here, thank you to FanDuel Sportsbook for making it happen. Make every moment more with FanDuel. So you get the sense that they want to win it for him. When people talk about the coach in front of a camera, behind a microphone, they say, yeah, we like the guy. We like the guy. Normally people don't badmouth the coach. You get a sense that it's real.
Absolutely. Even in the locker room when there aren't any cameras around.
Yeah.
Just our cell phones. And I think the personality that closely embodies Nick Sirianni, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And he was tremendous on the podium yesterday. Just, you can see the intensity, and he was composed, but you can see the intensity there. And he always talked about, he calls him Coach Nick. He goes, I want to win this one for Coach Nick. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, all of those players, they all are sort of marching to the beat of the same drum. And they're all speaking glowingly of their head coach. So not only are they playing hard for each other, and they obviously you have that self-motivation, but they want to do something for Nick, because let's not forget about how chastised everything that he said was. Everybody was sort of hanging on every word that he said. It was being dissected. And national media was not very kind to Nick Sirianni, and now he has them on the doorstep of winning their first Super Bowl.
Okay, so let's think about this way.
Under Nick Sirianni.
Under Sirianni, yeah.
Let's think about it this way. It's Thursday of Super Bowl week. Tell us what is now going to go on today, tomorrow, because now the door's sort of closed to you guys.
Yes.
There's a lot more privacy going on.
I talked to a lot of different coaches and players, and I said, look, today, Thursday, is the final day of media availability, and then you can actually just focus on the game. And they smiled, and they said, look, we've had our regimen throughout the week. We've done whatever we can to this is all part of it, but we've done what we could to navigate that. But, yeah, you could tell that they're looking forward to just focusing on football Friday, Saturday, and then, of course, game day.
All right, so you also talked to the enemy yesterday, right?
Yeah.
You spoke to some members of the Kansas City Chiefs. Tell us about what they're going through. The Eagles have been owning it. The Chiefs are used to it because they've been here for the last couple of years. So, what were some of the things that you took away from talking with different members of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Look, the Chiefs are a team that's been there before, but for some reason, to me, they didn't quite seem as loose as the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not exactly sure why. I think that there's a different grouping of players that are the nucleus. Obviously, you have the Travis Kelce, you have the Patrick Mahomes, but you look around the room, there's Xavier Worthy and just a number of young players that aren't exposed to that moment. And I just think the Eagles and the way their leadership and their locker room is constructed, it really lends itself to having everybody with the understanding of what the task at hand is and what's required to win a game of that magnitude. But I talked to Carson Wentz for a little bit.
Yes, you did.
But I didn't ask him about, well, what do you think of your time with the Eagles? What do you think of Jalen Hurts? I said, what's the biggest thing over the years you learned about yourself? Because sometimes that can, conjure an interesting answer. And he said, I started to lean on my family and my faith. I grew a lot as a man, the highs and the lows. He talked about how he didn't let the game define who he was as much as he did earlier in his career. So it's kind of an interesting peer into the person, Carson Wentz, and where he was.
Because we look at athletes as, superheroes, and, you obviously have a lot more access than the typical person because of what you do for a living. But, still, you look at an athlete. We were just talking about Luka Doncic last commercial break. He doesn't look like a 25-year-old kid. No, he looks like a 40-year-old grown man. Like it's unbelievable. We look at these athletes like they're superstars, and yet they're human beings.
Exactly, and everybody processes and handles things differently. It's not right or wrong. It's just how they personally go about handling it. And sometimes you have to look back and say, yeah, I could have done that differently. I could have went about that. I could have approached that differently, and you grow. I also spoke to wide receiver Xavier Worthy and asked him what his impressions were of Eagles rookie corners Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper.
Dude, that was a great question. Can you please tell the people what he said?
He complimented them. He said they're fast, they're sound, as we talked about, and he said they don't let receivers, change their game.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really critical, because sometimes when you're playing a receiver like him who's very fast, you play them differently. Sometimes you get in your own head. Sometimes you bail on your technique.
Right.
Not these guys. And they put that on tape, so now they have to account for everything. I also spoke to Eagles cornerback coach Roy Anderson to get a little bit more of a background on what some of Quinyon and Cooper had to endure early on. He said with Cooper, it was simply just a position change. He had the athleticism. He can cover tight ends, he mentioned.
Yep.
He can cover slot receivers, and he can make tackles in the open field. He said just learning a new position was the biggest challenge for him. With Quinyon, it was just learning about the techniques of the NFL. He said, and he bought into that very quickly.
Do you remember when, and you brought it up yesterday, Andrew, non-football guy Andrew brought it up.
He's a football guy. He's impressed me.
Dude,
He's
and
really
Andrew,
impressed me.
we were at the bar yesterday. I was football, official
I was
stamped NFL football guy
please.
status.
I was beaming.
Lane Johnson was saying last time, I'd rather play for the Birds than play for the Patriots back in 2017. They don't have any fun. We have more fun. We're a better team. Do you see any similarity between where the Patriots were then and where the Chiefs are now? That this is just another business trip?
That's a great question, John. They seem very business oriented, but so do the Eagles. But they're a little bit looser than I would have expected.
And I like that, man. I like that the Eagles are more loose going into this game. That makes me happy.
It does.
Right? Makes me more confident. All right, so yesterday.
You've always been a fan of loose.
Yesterday.
Press
wow.
on. Just press on.
Football guys.
You
football
sent
guys.
a text that I couldn't believe. It was our main topic today. We will ask Andrew DiCecco about that coming up next. The sense of urgency and how big the opportunity is now compared to down the road. We'll discuss that with Andrew DiCecco coming up next. We'll hear from you as well. It is Kincade and Salciunas live on Radio Row in New Orleans here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Mike Missanelli.
I see the Chiefs with a lot of field goals.
Live from Radio Row, day 2 here for Kincade and Salciunas. We're joined by our man Andrew DiCecco for the entire 7 o'clock hour. Before John tells Andrew what he texted me last night, I forgot to bring this up yesterday, John. And I pointed it out to you, and you were amazed by it too. So,
I'm always amazed by you, Andrew.
Of course. So we're here in Radio Row, or as they now say, Media Row, because
really?
there's TV stations and everything
here.
There
are.
It's not just radio. There's 2 huge banners for Super Bowl 59.
Correct.
And one is the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes is the big face on it. And I think also Isaiah Pacheco, which is odd to me. But the Eagles one is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
Which, duh. You would think, I don't know,
Saquon Barkley.
Jalen Carter.
Saquon Barkley.
With all due respect, I am shocked that Josh Sweat is the other Eagle that they're highlighting on this. I mean, this banner is
it's gigantic.
What, 15, 20 yards long? Like,
oh no, that's a
like
long
it's
banner.
It's a huge banner, and Josh Sweat is one of the 2 Eagles that they highlight. Instead of Saquon or Jalen Carter, they go Josh Sweat. I'm
What's
surprised.
behind that, Andrew?
They had another random one last time they were in the Super Bowl in '57. They had another random player that was alongside Jalen Hurts.
Was
so I
it
don't
Miles
know.
Sanders?
Nah, it wasn't Miles.
I can't remember.
It's just odd. Like,
it's like
all due respect to
it's
Josh
like they
Sweat.
took an intern. It's like they gave an intern at the NFL.
Yeah, give us 2 players.
I just said pick 2 players.
Yeah, no, I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it, but yeah, I just remember that in Super Bowl 57, I was staring right at the banner that would have been that way, and I was like, Jalen Hurts and who?
And who? Why are we highlighting this
it was
guy?
like Dallas Goedert. I don't know. It was. I don't remember.
All right, John. Tell Andrew what you texted me last night.
This
and
was
then,
after
and then,
dinner.
And then explain yourself. I do believe booze
No,
was a
I'm just
factor
going to
in
let
this
it.
one.
I'm going to let this stand on its own. I'm not going to try to
Okay.
explain it.
Okay, fair.
Here's what I sent to Andrew last night about talking for today's show. I said the plea by Darius Slay that I heard him yesterday, wanting to finish his career as an Eagle and saying that next year will be his last year, to me points to the true sense of urgency to win Super Bowl 59. The window may be open for this team to win a title for a while, but they will never be in a better position than they're in right now next year.
Look, I'm feeling pretty good. I had Barracuda yesterday.
Yes.
So
Yeah, you did, dude. That was awesome. My man's ordering Barracuda.
I feel so like that. That's a great way that you frame that, John. And I'm ready to tackle it. That was my build up here.
You were consuming it.
Listen, I think that the window is going to be open for this team
Right.
for a while because
And
they have
that's what
Cooper
I say.
DeJean, they have
Right.
Quinyon Mitchell. So Slay is a very important piece to this football team. And I spoke to another position coaches yesterday who were actually very. They spoke glowingly about Slay, about what he does in the building and how critical he's been to the development and success of Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. Said he's one of the first guys in, one of the last guys out. And they said when you're one of your best guys is also one of your best people, you got something. I think the window is going to be open regardless.
I agree. But if this team next year, there's a chance, obviously Slay's making a sales pitch.
Yes.
He's worried that he's not going to be here.
I know. And
if Milton Williams is gone, and Josh Sweat is gone, and Darius Slay is gone.
Why do you think they're all going to be gone?
No, I'm just saying if they were gone, those 3 could all be gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll be replaced.
If you're saying, but will they be replaced? Will you be able to be in the same position you are next year? Are you going to get the season you got out of Saquon Barkley next year?
Maybe not 2,000 yards.
I will bet anything that I own that this is the magic. That's why these seasons happen every 20, 40 years.
Right. But I don't think you could think like that because they could very easily get another offensive coordinator in here, and all of a sudden the passing game takes a little bit of pressure off the running game. All of a sudden, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are more of a prominent piece to the offense than they've been this year. Maybe there's another player who they draft who's ready to step up and fulfill a role that maybe a Milton Williams
rotational piece
that he undertook this year.
Okay, you're asking a bunch of people to step in.
But Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean did it just
they
this year.
stepped in pretty damn well first
You don't
year.
think that's magical?
No.
How many teams have started two guys like that? 2 rookies.
The Kansas City
in
Chiefs
the-
2 years ago.
Trent McDuffie.
It's not, but it is not common.
It's not common.
Don't spin it as common.
No, it's
Just
not common.
It's not a common occurrence.
It's not
But
common.
it could
but
be for the
you have
Eagles.
coaches in place that have. We've talked about player development all season long. They have the infrastructure in place to develop talent. So you
Okay.
have to have confidence in that moving forward. And with Howie Roseman and his ability to maneuver the draft board, I think that they're going to be in good shape for the next 5 or 10 years.
And I love what you said about Sirianni last segment, that he's turning a corner. You know, in year 4 as the head coach, he's turned a corner into being one of these top CEO head coaches that people might start thinking about as one of the better coaches in the NFL. Maybe other guys take the corner. I mean, this is still early for a lot of these players.
That is why in the statement I said, I believe the window's open for a long time.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you right now, again, February 6th next year, we will not be talking about the Eagles being in as good a position to win a Super Bowl. Could they be in the Super Bowl? Sure. Could they be? 21 starters healthy in this game.
Yeah.
Saquon, a historic season that has not happened in 40 years.
Is Sunday a must-win game?
No.
It's
the idea is you do not pass. You only get certain amount of bites at the apple. Don't be like, well, if we don't win on Sunday, we'll be fine. We could do it next year.
Was 2022 another magical season for you?
It was very magical. It was very magical. But again, it didn't end in a championship.
No, it didn't. But they were still right. They were still there. They had a chance.
And
they won in a different way.
I don't know if that keeps you warm at night.
But they won in a different way.
I don't know if that keeps you warm at night. But I think for the typical Eagles fan, losing in 2022 is a fond memory of a good season, but it doesn't keep me warm at night. It doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies that 2017 did.
Right, but it doesn't mean they can't be back. Like that, your whole argument is
could
this might be their shot.
They could be back next year.
Seriously, I can't wait. I'm writing this date down, and we will look at this because you guys all believe this is just going to be.
I mean,
you
bring up an interesting topic.
How healthy they are, everything, the players you're going to lose. It's a different thing, and they're winning.
All right, coming up next, we'll hear from the people because I know people are chiming in on this on the text line. You can text in, you can call in 610-632-0975. So we'll hear from you, but also our man Andrew DiCecco is here for the hour. We also want to talk more about the game. We started to a little bit yesterday. Coming up next, I want to ask the keys on offense and defense for both teams. Both teams, so both Eagles and Chiefs. Andrew DiCecco breaks that down for you. Coming up next, it's Kincade and Salciunas live from Radio Row here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Hurts focused on winning. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles, they're focused on obviously winning the big game, but Jalen Hurts got a chance to talk yesterday about the desire to win and how it outweighs stats, a message that he's pretty much had all year long.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
Yes, that desire has been shown this year by number one. It's also been shown by a bunch of Eagles, including Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, who fought through a lot of pain to play in the NFC Championship game. We got some good injury news yesterday as both Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were full participants in practice on the first injury report. So this team has shown desire to win so far this postseason. We'll see if they have one more in them. Sunday, 6:30 for Super Bowl 59, only 3 days away from the matchup with the Chiefs. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. Also made another trade. KJ Martin and 2 second-round picks go to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. Sixers now under the luxury tax for the season. Flyers play the Caps tonight at 7 p.m. That game here on the Fanatic. Andrew DiCecco will stay with us for the entire 7 o'clock hour. Matt Ryan, 7:55. Kurt Warner, 8:55. Kevin Negandhi, 9:10. Steve Weish, 9:40. A busy day here. This update's brought to you by 97.5 The Fanatic's Watch Party with Corona. This Sunday, Patty Wax on South Street, starting at 2 p.m. for the big game pregame show, and then the watch party after that with Andrew and yours truly. Drink specials on Corona. Don't miss out. Please drink responsibly. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Ricky Vitalico.
On Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, broadcasting live from Radio Row here in New Orleans, and all of our coverage is being presented to us by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We want to give a big thank you as well to TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Visit TrueMark.com or visit one of the 24 local branches to learn more. And we're joined by our man Andrew DiCecco, who's with us for the entire hour, leading us up until Matt Ryan, who's going to be joining us coming up at 7:55 to talk about Super Bowl 59. And Andrew DiCecco's hits are presented to you by Tompkins Community Bank, your bank of choice. So let's check the text line a little bit before we dive deeper into this game, because I do want to get some keys for the Eagles on offense and defense, and for the Chiefs on offense and defense. Andrew DiCecco can break it all down. But, Connor, what are the people saying in regards to today's topic about this sense of urgency? And, no, we're not doing the whole "is Sunday a must-win game" like that. We're not doing that. John's not saying they have to win Sunday or this,
no,
everything's done.
And but by the way, I do say that they are winning Sunday.
I agree with you.
They're there.
But I think they could be back literally next year because of the way this team is built with the youth. But what
How
are the
about
people?
Brandon Graham too? By the way, gone. Another one.
Okay.
That's a lot to lose.
Have they missed him since week 12?
It's a lot to. Oh my gosh. Brandon Graham is a huge part of what that team is. You're in there.
He'll
every
still
day.
be there.
He'll still be around.
Jason Kelsey's still around.
But Jalen Hunt, he developed at a remarkable pace.
He did a great job.
And that also goes to me and Andrew and I's point about how the Eagles develop their players and how they draft, with the future in mind. So I think with that logic, you have to be confident with the Eagles to get back to this point next season as well.
Okay, so by the way, we had a couple, and I know we got a couple over there. Is that a few people saying, John, you should be relentless on this next year. If everybody believes, it could be all great next year too.
You're relentless. You're relentless regardless.
It will be. That is correct. That's what I said to him. That's
like,
exactly what I said.
I'm already used to it.
That's what I said. I'm going to be relentless either way.
I had to hear about the Phillies base running issues for like 8 months.
Yes. Yes.
All right. What do we have on the text line,
Baseball
Connor?
guys can educate you.
All right, so we have a check-in here from Jay in Gilbertsville who says, John is way off here. This team is already a prime destination for free agents. Look at Myles Garrett and even Micah Parsons' jealousy of the Eagles. Philadelphia has been a top free agent spot for years. They can easily rebuild this team.
I wouldn't be so quick to I wouldn't be so quick.
Easily rebuild.
While I like that he agrees with me and Andrew, but
yes.
this offseason, guys, is not going to look the same as last offseason.
Right.
The cap is different, and there's a lot of casualties. They're not going to be able to keep everybody. This is why it becomes imperative for the Eagles to really hit the draft board. And make sure you strike on all your picks.
I thought you were going to say it makes it very imperative that they cash in the chip on Sunday night.
Well, it's imperative. Well, I'm looking at the future now.
I like imperative, though. That's the word of the morning so far.
I've heard better from DiCecco. I've heard better. A little weak.
Listen, we still got.
We still got 30
Look,
minutes.
he's into his Thursday. He's into his Thursday words. Wait till his Friday words.
All right,
it's going to be incredible.
So, Andrew, break down this Eagles-Chiefs. Not necessarily the matchup, but if you were to say this is the key for the Eagles offensively, this is the key for the Eagles defensively on Sunday, I want you to do that for the Eagles, but I also want you to do that for the Chiefs. Give us both sides. So go ahead, have at it.
The key for the Chiefs from an offensive standpoint will be to attack the middle of the Eagles defense, where you're going to have linebackers Zach Bond, Oren Burks. Remember, they know Oren Burks quite well. Mm-hmm. They had success going after Oren Burks with Travis Kelce. But I don't believe that they're a team that's going to push the ball down the field. This is why it's so important for the Eagles to wrap up when players hit the intermediary levels and they have the ball on the move, because they have players like Xavier Worthy who have electric speed and can flip the game on its axis at a given play. So I think that's going to be their way. Look, Isaiah Pacheco, their running back and their running game, I don't know that anyone should have a whole ton of concern in that regard, because the Eagles have Jalen Carter, they got Jordan Davis, they have Milton Williams, and they have linebackers who attack downhill and stop any momentum, and they really fill the gaps.
He just also hasn't been, like, since his injury, just hasn't been.
He just hasn't been
good.
No, I mean,
and like Kareem Hunt, like, nice player.
He's okay.
He's a nice player.
Yeah, nice player. He's not Saquon.
He scares me though. In moments.
He can catch the football a little bit. But I think that their approach will be that death by 1,000 cuts to try and march down the field and pick apart the teeth of the Eagles' defense, which teams have been able to do to some degrees of success, which is why it's overly important that the edge rushers like Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith get home.
Well, and the Eagles also kind of allow it. Right, with that bend but don't break defense.
That's part of Fangio's system, but the Chiefs have players that can exploit that. Not only can they move the chains, but they can take a short pass and they could take it the distance, which is why Reed Blankenship and C.J. Gardner-Johnson are going to have a spotlight on them in this game.
I am a believer that Patrick Mahomes will give us the ball once. I mean, this secondary could have a day, or maybe it's one of the linebackers that ends up with the moment. He tries to improvise so much and believes in his throws so much. There should be opportunities to turn this ball over.
I like how you said linebacker. I'm going to give you a bold opinion on a Thursday here.
Wow. Bold and beautiful.
Oren Burks is going to make a big play in this game.
DiCecco.
He's going to make a big play in this game.
Okay, wait a minute here. DiCecco says Oren Burks.
Yes.
So if a big play, well, that could be a strip. That could be because he's
no.
A guy.
When we talk about forcing a turnover, he's going to force a turnover.
Okay, force a turnover.
Forced fumble,
like
he did against the Commanders. That was arguably one of the biggest turning points of that game.
Absolutely.
He forced a fumble in the opening kickoff against the Packers.
Yes, he did.
Set the tone for that game.
He's been playing really well.
He really has.
The Kobe Dean go. I still think of Jeff McClain.
I can't believe that.
And he
how
was
that
just
turned
like,
out.
yeah, I don't think this is as dire as what people are making it out. And we were concerned. Green dot, right? Like it's not just the plays that he made on the field, but everything that Kobe Dean brought on the field.
I think a lot of folks were a little bit underwhelmed with the fact that he was inserted in the middle of that game and teams went after him, and he was still processing things. But it's never taken into account. It's rarely taken into account. I don't want to say never. What a full week of practice can do. We're working alongside Zach Bond, who was wearing the green dot. You see the communication. You don't see a ton of breakdowns and coverage. And I think a lot of that has to do with the more reps you get with somebody, the more natural, the more cohesive the operation is. So I think Oren Burks deserves a lot more credit than what – well, I early on he didn't get a lot of credit because everybody wanted Jeremiah Trotter Jr. But I think since then there's a newfound appreciation for what he brings to the defense.
Now, DiCecco last night was trying to get some insights on this game at a roulette wheel.
Not me.
With Mike Vito.
Yeah.
You were not gambling, but Mike Vito was saying bet on the number of the defensive player that would create a turnover or get a turnover. Get a turnover. He bet on 33.
Because of Cooper DeJean.
The wheel didn't hit 33. Do you remember what number it hit?
2.
Darius Slay,
Look,
man. Big play, Slay.
I love Mike Vito for a lot of reasons. I love the fact that he was twisted enough to think that could actually do something to assist this game, and I love the fact that it came up with big play Slay's number.
And I love that he trusted me to make that decision for him.
Damn right, man.
I didn't feel overly comfortable making that decision for him.
Well, it's other people's money. You're not,
Connor,
and I'm just an innocent bystander.
Connor, let's go to the phones. I want to hear what the people are chiming in on the phones as well about today's topic. Let's go to William in South Philly. William, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Yes. Yeah,
up,
John, you're right. When you come from the king or the kingdom, you don't miss. When we come from the Chiefs' kingdom, we don't miss. And
don't
where's
miss.
the love for C.J. Gardner-Johnson? For 2 Super Bowls and 1 champion and 1 NFC championship.
Dude, he's trust me, he's getting love on this show.
We give him flowers on this program all the time.
Andrew DiCecco has actually been charged with stalking on C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
There's been lots of
comments
love thrown
from this
towards
show.
C.J. GJ.
You expound a little bit, and William, thanks
buddy.
for
the call,
thanks
William.
For
We
having my
appreciate
back.
it.
As far as that, C.J. Gardner-Johnson truly did. He made a huge impact.
I don't know that it's even you can even put into words the impact that he's made just from the swagger, the attitude, the toughness that he brings, his ability to take the football away. Reed Blankenship carries himself differently, playing alongside C.J. Gardner-Johnson. The whole secondary really carries himself with a lot more bravado. And I would also say that he is an instrumental piece in terms of the back-end communication. A lot of what Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are able to do is because they're hearing their assignments from Cooper for C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Reed Blankenship. So we give him plenty of flowers on this program.
You always do, and you've never wavered. When he came back, you were so excited about it.
Actually, there was a promo on this very station that I said, I believe that C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to be the most impactful offseason addition for the Eagles.
Well, the beauty of Williams' call,
even
though he was way off, he may have been reading the show sheet. We have a CJ GJ segment next.
I love it.
It's unbelievable. So you'll hear more CJ GJ love. Nick Sirianni spoke about him yesterday. How about Malcolm Jenkins spoke about him yesterday? And oh, by the way, speaking of Malcolm Jenkins, Andrew DiCecco said something last night on the Instagram Live for the station that blew my mind about Malcolm Jenkins and history in Philadelphia. It's Kincade and Salciunas, our man Andrew DiCecco joining us. We got Matt Ryan coming up at 7:55 here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Man, Matt Ryan joining us in 15 minutes. He thinks very, very highly of this Eagles team. I know you guys had him on going up before the Green Bay Packers. That's when I was out with the flu, so I didn't get the chance to talk to him. And he thought very highly of the Eagles going into that game. I'm excited to hear him going into this game.
I can tell you that I think we will enjoy Matt Ryan's appearance.
All right, we're looking forward to that. But for now,
Not that we wouldn't always enjoy Matt's insights.
No, but we're going to like it even more.
He likes it
I guess you got to settle it for me for like next 40
No, we
minutes.
love Andrew DiCecco being here too. So.
And we love that he's being presented to you by Tompkins Community Bank, your bank of choice, which is fantastic. Thank
he gets,
you.
by the way, because of Tompkins being a part of Andrew DiCecco, I understand you get to like run a branch for a day.
That's great.
That's what
I thought you were going to say, get my pockets lined with $100 bills.
No, they won't do that, but they're going to let you like run the branch.
You seem like you could be a good branch
You're going to make like
manager.
lending decisions.
I would savvy decisions. I'll promote the unsung heroes of the corporation. There.
Well,
There
you promoted the unsung hero of Malcolm Jenkins last night. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
Boy, that's the way it was live.
So
we'll run out of time.
I know it was live and it was posted. So we just talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson last segment because our man Will from South Philly called in and incorrectly said that we don't talk about him enough. We talk about him a lot on the show. We talk about a lot last year and that game against the San Francisco 49ers when the 49ers just walked through the DB drills and the Eagles just allowed it and they didn't, like, fight back. You know Chauncey Gardner-Johnson would have had something to say during that pregame festivity.
He would have had a lot to say.
Yeah, he would have had a lot to say.
CJ's not letting that
No, he's
go.
not. And they missed that last year. So Nick Sirianni, we've seen a great bond between the two of them. Now, you could speak more to that, Andrew, but we're seeing it on camera, on the field, on the sideline, the embraces between Nick Sirianni and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Clearly, there's a bond between the two of them. Here was Nick Sirianni yesterday talking about the Eagles' safety.
The play on the field speaks for itself. He does a phenomenal job. I think he's one of our great tacklers that we have. We got a lot of good tacklers, and he does a great job of setting the tone with how he tackles. He has a special ability to take the football away. You know, I think about the Dallas game, the interception that he makes to put us up 7-0 early on in the game. So he has a special ability there. But what I love about him is his energy, his love for football, his love for his teammates. He's got unlimited amount of energy, and that's contagious. You get around him and you can't have a bad day. He's going to make sure that you're up and ready to go for practice through the different ways that he does it. So love having him back on this football team. He's been a major part of our success and why we're here right now.
I mean, we talk about culture all the time with Nick Sirianni. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson still say. I mean, you talked about it, how he's helped guys like Reed Blankenship out.
A lot. He loves Reed Blankenship. He might be Reed's biggest fan.
That's awesome.
Now, I think Sirianni likes him so much because he probably reminds him a little bit of himself when he played at Mount Union. He talks about how passionate he was and how he used to let officials know and how he liked to talk out there a little bit.
A little bit of different level, Mount Union.
Well, of course,
and the
but I mean,
in
terms of demeanor,
it's very close, razor thin.
But in terms of demeanor and how you carry yourself and how much you love the game and how you're unapologetically yourself, I think that really resonates with him.
And so another clip I want to play for you, because Malcolm Jenkins joined the Mike Missanelli show here on Radio Row yesterday. It was a great interview. And I love this from Malcolm Jenkins, right? Obviously Super Bowl champion safety with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I know he's rooting for the Birds this weekend. He talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and one of the things that he doesn't get enough credit for, and he's right, is the football IQ, because we talk about so much his energy, his talent, and he's obviously the dog on the defense, right? You don't want to mess.
Sure.
You don't want to mess with him. He'll be the first one to say something back to you, or maybe he's going to be the first one that's doing the talking. But Malcolm Jenkins talks about his football IQ. Take a listen to Malcolm Jenkins.
So C.J. Gardner-Johnson was with me as a young guy in New Orleans. I've been able to give him a lot of my game. He's much more intelligent than people give him credit for. His game, all of his trash talk is calculated. He's not just somebody who's out of control. He knows how to get people kicked out of a game. He knows how to do that. But his football IQ is way up there. If you watch him play, sometimes it looks like he's blitzing gaps, and this is him seeing something before the snap and triggering, trusting his film study, and making plays consistently. And that is, you can't play the safety position in that type of manner if you are not extremely intellectual.
And look, I mean, I would like you to talk on that more, Andrew, because this is the ins of football. This is why we bring you on, the true football guy that you are. He doesn't get enough credit for it. Malcolm's right.
He doesn't, and I think a lot of that it can be attributed to him bouncing around from team to team.
Yeah,
he's kind of a veteran journeyman. But what I will say is Philadelphia is the best place for him.
Yeah.
He embodies the mentality of the city, the toughness, the blue-collar approach, the take-no-prisoners mentality, the just go out there and let it all, let it all go and leave it all on the field. I think that what he does really translates to the fan base. But beyond that, it is the football IQ. You see him jumping on routes, the way that he reads the eyes of a quarterback and can take the football away.
Man.
He's a ball hawk, but he's also highly intelligent. If you watch on Sunday, you'll see him communicating with Reed. You'll see him talking to Cooper. They do it in practice, and they do it in the games, and he gets them lined up and puts them in best position to be successful. And sometimes we'll say, watch for this, watch for that. And there's a quote that I put on my X platform about Reed Blankenship talking about how much it means to play alongside C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He gave a really long, great answer, and he said, yeah, we have two different personalities. Yeah. Because sometimes I have to calm him down a little bit, but he said that he's just done wonders for his game. And I think from a confidence standpoint, too.
I would ask you this, is that when you talk about that and the way he sort of directs traffic and gets all the other guys to know what they got to be doing, an aggressive approach or a more passive approach from the secondary going into Sunday night's game?
I think initially a little bit more of a passive approach. But based on the way the Chiefs play, they don't really threaten vertically. And I think until they show you that they're willing to do that, you're going to be a little bit more aggressive. You're going to play closer coverage. You're going to be a little bit more physical and challenge receivers.
Do you think they try something early just to soften it up?
I think the Chiefs will. I think they're going to try Slay.
Okay.
But I don't think that the big play is going to connect. I think
that's the roulette wheel.
I think Slay's gonna have a really strong game. I do.
All right, you got about a minute, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
So
this hour goes quickly.
Yesterday, we talked about Malcolm Jenkins, and you said live on Instagram. And for people that don't know Andrew DiCecco yet, you should follow him on Twitter and follow all his work. It's amazing. Andrew is not a hot take guy, like at all. All right,
he is not.
He gets angry.
Preface it with
when
that,
hot
please.
takes happen. I'm making.
I just
want to make that clear. This is straight up football acumen. You said that Malcolm Jenkins might be the best safety in Eagles franchise history.
And I stand firmly behind that.
He
comment.
said might. He did say might. I went back
might.
and heard it.
But listen, I don't just say.
Quoted him correctly.
I don't yeah, you did. That's very important. I don't just say things for the sake of saying things.
I know you don't.
When you're and you have to also look at. In the era in which Brian Dawkins played versus with the era Malcolm Jenkins played, it's a different game. But Malcolm played slot. He played hybrid linebacker. He played the post.
Yeah.
He could play corner if you needed him to, and he was an Iron Man. He played over 1,000 snaps. He didn't miss a single defensive snap, I think, for consecutive years. But I also think that in the postseason, when games were at their highest, the highest stakes, he delivered. He delivered in big moments.
By the way, Chris.
Are you saying that Brian Dawkins did it?
I'm just saying, man. Arizona Cardinals game.
Yeah, look, you're not wrong.
All I'm going to say is Chris Sims has sent a cease and desist on your shirt.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care.
Your top button, no tie.
Listen, man, I try to be all class.
He wants a cease and desist.
I'm first team all class.
He says don't steal his gig.
Andrew, you're the man. We appreciate it as always. Tomorrow you're going to be joining us for like 2 hours.
Yeah, we're going to hang out with him all day.
So he did the hour with us yesterday. He did the hour with us today. Tomorrow it's going to be
even anything more.
More Andrew DiCecco. Yeah, we're not. That's why we have Tompkins Bank, Tompkins Community Bank, your bank of choice, brother. All right, coming up next, Matt Ryan will be calling in, and John thinks he's going to speak glowingly again about the Eagles.
I think he's going to make you happy.
It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Some super injury news. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles got some, you could call it super, I just call it good, injury news yesterday as we get to 3 days from Super Bowl Sunday. Both Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were full participants in practice yesterday after limping through the NFC Championship game. That's great news for a couple guys that were hobbled. They showed the desire to win on this championship Sunday against the Commanders, but Jalen Hurts talked about the team showing it and himself showing it all year.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
That message has been consistent all year from Hurts. It's been shown all year from the team. We'll see if they have one more in them this Sunday, 6:30 p.m. for Super Bowl 59 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. They made another trade, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons. It was a salary relief move. Sixers now under the luxury tax for this season. Flyers play the Cavs Capitals tonight at 7 p.m. That game live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The guys to talk to Matt Ryan coming up next, Kurt Warner at 8:55, Kevin Negandhi at 9:10, and Steve Weish at 9:40. This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Bill Colorado. 97.5 The Fanatic.
It is 7:55 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, as we broadcast live from Radio Row, day 2 of Radio Row here in New Orleans, all brought to us by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel, and a big thank you to our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Visit TrueMark.com or one of the 24 local branches to learn more.
I assured you that this man would be on time.
Oh, he was
because
on, he was
much
early,
like you, Matt Ryan is a guy who is one of those punctual people.
Yes.
If he makes a commitment, he shows up on time, and he has to get two, kids out of the house in the morning.
Yeah, and I got one. People say that me and Matt Ryan are a lot alike.
No, they don't. I don't.
No,
think
they don't
that's
say
ever
that.
Been said. I don't think it's ever.
Come on, Matt. I got an arm. What's up, Matt?
There's Matt Ryan's on with us. Hi, Matt.
How we doing? I've been up for an hour and a half at this point trying to get 2 7-year-olds ready for school. So
unbelievable. God bless you,
which is a win.
Well, believe me, after a few nights in New Orleans, getting ready for it, do a radio show at 5 a.m. is a bit of a challenge here and everything, and it's been fun. But Matt, it's this Birds team made it to the bowl, and when you were on with us before the Rams game, when you talked about the fact that playing in South Philly was a huge advantage. When you saw the Eagles get home field advantage for the NFC title game, did you think they were pretty much home free?
Yeah, listen, I thought the way that they played, too, the defense, right? We talked before the Rams game, and it was, can that defense show up? Can the run game show up? We kind of banked on that, and it did. And for me, at least, it was, can Jalen Hurts just give us a little more? I think he's played really well in the playoffs. I really do. And when they got that home field advantage, to me, it felt like, even though it was a dangerous Commanders team and a team that was playing well, if they started the game and got a little bit of momentum on that side, they weren't going to lose it at that stadium. And, they come out with the explosion on the offensive side of the ball. Defense plays excellent. I thought it was a statement game going into the Super Bowl for them.
Can you talk more about how Jalen Hurts has played throughout the playoffs? People, for some reason, they look for the glamour. They look for the 300-yard game in the air. But he's been efficient, and he hasn't been turning the football over, and the Eagles are winning. So can you talk about Jalen Hurts? You just said you think he's been playing really well throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, I think he's doing, this was kind of the thing with Purdy, right, last year as a game manager, whatever. Number one, that's your job as a quarterback, right, is to do what you need to do for the offense to be successful. And I think he's done it excellent. I thought in the championship game, early on, the rhythm, the timing, the outbreaking routes that he was throwing, just the poise that he had, I thought it was a perfect fit for what they wanted to do offensively. And the numbers aren't going to be gaudy. Listen, if they run the football the way that they're capable of, right, it's going to be in that, low 200s, something like that in terms of yardage. But the efficiency with which he plays, to me, is kind of the X factor. And I think he's looked comfortable. I think he's looked poised. I think he looks confident. And I think that shows up in the way he's throwing the football, particularly on those rhythm-type throws, the little outbreakers that he was hitting early in that game. To me, that's a good sign if you're an Eagles fan.
CBS NFL analyst from their star-studded studio show. We saw your boy Nate Burleson and his lovely wife at dinner last night, by the way.
Listen, Nate is, I think he's the busiest man in broadcast. Right?
He really
he's
is.
Out there. It doesn't matter the genre. He's
there.
At it. Yes, he's there. And he's got energy. Late-night dinners doesn't make a difference. Nate's up and at it in the mornings.
I remember you as a young quarterback, though, and you're just talking about Jalen Hurts there and how much you thrived in a hurry-up offense when you got to do the sort of the no-huddle stuff and you got to improvise maybe a little bit. Is that freedom something that you believe in, that quick pace, something that really does benefit Hurts? But more importantly, I want to know why. Why does it benefit him?
Well, I think it's twofold. Number one, it cuts down on the number of things you can do offensively, right? So you go to your bread and butter, the things you're most comfortable with. I think that's a good thing for a quarterback. On the flip side, it waters down what the defense does too. And so you're not getting, 15 different coverages or 15 different fronts or blitz combinations, right? You're getting only a handful. So I like that part of it. The second thing that I always felt, made it easier was if you can wear a defensive line out, right? If you can slow down their get off, whether it's in the run game or it's in, drop back pass, whatever that may be. If you can slow down pass rush and get those guys tired on the defensive side of the ball, it just there brings a level of calm. So I like the simplicity on both sides that the no huddle brings. I like slowing down the pass rush. And then, I also think it gives you, particularly, Jalen's not a young player anymore, but, particularly as a young player, it just gives you a level of freedom to check out of things too, right? To get you to trust your instincts, trust what you see. You've got the freedom to do it in those kind of situations, and you just trust your instinct.
Matt Ryan with us on the Comcast Business Hotline. You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station, broadcasting live from Radio Row in New Orleans through the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Now, Matt, it's great to talk about hurry-up offenses and how well Jalen Hurts is playing. I do want to talk about the defensive coordinator he's going up against. You've played against the Steve Spagnuolo-led defense. How difficult is it going up against something that Steve Spagnuolo can do over the course of the game? Because it always seems like he changes things up, and you see in big moments there's always that pressure off the edge that happens. We just saw it this last game against the Buffalo Bills. How difficult is it going up against Spags?
Very difficult. He's one of the best in the league and has been for a long time. I always felt like when you were playing a Steve Spagnuolo defense, it was important to make first downs on first and second down, right? And stay out of, some of those third and longer situations. So being a little bit aggressive, I think on first down is important. And, I think the Eagles will do that. I also think the ability to run the football on third down waters down a lot of what Spags wants to do. And so, he'll give you exotic fronts, guys lined up in different places, people moving around. You've got pressures coming from the boundary. You saw it on that fourth down play last week, that 4-week pressure from the boundary. But, I think the Eagles' ability to run the football, it slows down some of the things that Spags wants to do because it's very difficult in some of those exotic pass rush pressures that they have to defend the run. And the Eagles are excellent at being able to get into the gun on third down, hand the ball off, whether it's inside zone or some of their gap scheme where they pull people, or even the ability for Jalen Hurts to run with the football. It becomes very difficult to defend those things. So I look at it as a really – I'm curious. I'm curious to see what Spags' game plan is to come out and try and slow down this Eagles offense.
Saquon has been the sort of the signature star that everybody talks about when you're looking at what the Eagles do. How much do you think Spagnuolo will sell out to make sure that Saquon is not the guy that beats them? And then what opportunities does that truly provide?
Well, I think you have to go into that game, right? You have to go into it and say, if we're going to get beat, it's not because 26 is going to go for over 200. And so I do think, you're talking about bringing guys up into the box on first and second down, having 7-8 guys down around the line of scrimmage to try and defend the run. What becomes difficult, and Saquon's been so good versus that 7 and 8 man spacing, is there's only 3 guys left in the secondary. So if he finds a lane, those can become house calls. And he's done that all season long. I think Spags has to try and contain Saquon. I don't think you're shutting him down. I don't think you're shutting down that run game. It's not going to be, the Eagles rush for 50 or 60 yards. But you got to try and contain it, limit the big plays. And then, conversely, what does that do? It opens up opportunities on the outside. And you in Philadelphia, you've got 2 guys on the outside that can go, make plays in one-on-one situations, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And I think, early on, I think first and second down, early on, I think the ball's in Jalen Hurts' hands a little bit to go find those one-on-ones, which he's confident doing, taking those matchups. I'll be interested to see if they come up, they play some of that press coverage. I think Jalen threw the ball beautifully down the field on go routes last week. I think it becomes, maybe a dink and dunk kind of nickel and dime game at the beginning, for Jalen Hurts in the passing game as a result of Spags trying to bring some of that stuff down.
Nobody's stopping Patrick Mahomes, but how can Vic Fangio and this Eagles defense slow down Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I think the key to the game is the Eagles' interior defensive line. I think there's been a lot made of Kansas City moving Joe Thuney from guard out to tackle, and listen, he's done a great job. I think he's really solved a problem, for them at that left tackle spot. But, you talk about really good players for the Chiefs' offensive line and Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey, and then there's Mike Caliendo at the other guard spot. And so you're going against Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Milton Williams, those guys. Like, to me, that's how you slow Patrick down, right, is you collapse the center of the pocket and you push into his feet and you make it muddy for him to see, and you contain rush on the outside. And then there's, some of the zone coverage that Vic Fangio likes to do behind it. I think it's critical the defensive line, the interior defensive linemen for the Eagles play well. If you're going to shut Patrick down, you've got to make him uncomfortable by kind of collapsing that center of the pocket.
All right, Matt, you're a Chester County guy. You still have Philly roots. Is there going to be a big party in 19341 downtown Exton on Sunday night?
Listen, I made my mistake. I've made my. I know I'm going to get crushed for it. I made my mistake on CBS going against the Chiefs. I thought the Bills would get it done. I think the Chiefs end up getting it done. But
what do you know? What do you know?
I will say, yeah, exactly. What do I know? I've been wrong all season long. So
then that's good news. That's good news for all of us.
For Eagles.
You realize you're going to get taunted in Wildwood this summer with all the bird shirts.
And,
my God.
It's nothing new for me. That's been the case for a long time, so it's all good.
Matt, I so appreciate your time as always, buddy, and look forward to catching up soon.
You guys are the best. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Matt.
There he is, Matt Ryan on the Comcast Business Hotline.
Man, that
Every
pisses
day,
me off,
business,
though.
big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next, man.
When you run into Matt this summer down in Wildwood, you remind him when you're wearing your new Super Bowl champions gear. You make sure you let Matt Ryan hear it.
Yes.
I guarantee you some of his blood will let him hear it right now. He's getting texts right now.
Oh, yeah, family, man. That family blood is what you're saying.
Yes.
I don't want
blood
to
spilled.
I won't say he made a prediction. Now all of a sudden there's blood spilled.
I don't want blood
family
spilled.
blood. All right, coming up next, we'll reset the show a little bit today as we're broadcasting live from Radio Row. We got a lot of guests still to come for you.
We got a lot to say.
So we will give you a little update on what we got coming up on the show next. Also, today's headlines with Connor Thomas. It's a busy day here on Radio Row. It's Kincade and Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. Radio Row coverage does continue thanks to our friend at FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Broadcasting live from Radio Row here in New Orleans. We've got a busy show still to come for you. We're halfway through, Johnny, and it's just going to get easier for us. We got Kurt Warner coming up at 9 o'clock. Very excited for that. Kevin Negandhi at 9:10. Steve Wyche at 9:45, if not earlier, because you got the personal contact.
Yeah, Wyche better be here a couple seconds early for us.
We say 9:45, so peel behind the curtain. We get all these emails. Hey, do you want to have this person on? Do you want to have that person on? And, we did a lot of reaching out early.
Sure.
Like 2 weeks ago, we started making a lot of our – before the NFC Championship game, I reached out to the NFL Network. I was like, they're going to win, so can we have some of your guests?
And much like Matt Ryan, building his media career on the fact that I coached him up his whole time as a young guy.
He credits you for everything.
Steve Wyche was just a beat writer in Atlanta doing hits on my show. Now he's the lead NFL reporter for the NFL Network covering your Birds this week. And I said, be here, and you're going to be here.
Yeah, and he'll be here early.
He'll
Love
listen.
That. We got a lot going on. We'll continue talking about all of our Eagles topics. We'll continue checking our text line, our phone line as well. But it is time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What do we got?
What up, boys? We got some good stuff here. So he's been a topic of conversation a little bit on these airwaves, and he was definitely a focus at Media Row yesterday. Myles Garrett was asked about his future, and he did mention the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's what he had to say.
What's the one team that you got the most? Hey, come join my team.
Oh, man. The Eagles have been out in full force.
Could see yourself eating some cheesesteaks and winning a championship in the city of brotherly love.
No, I'm not going to stay too attached to any one team at this point, but it would be a hell of a destination.
Come on, Zach, with the cheese. With the
I
cheese.
like Zach.
I love Zach. He had the cheesesteaks. Come on, Zach.
Hey, he's a Temple guy.
I
Temple
know, man.
Proud,
We ride together.
He didn't go to Penn State.
But look, Myles Garrett says Eagles right away. That's the first team that he mentions.
He's hearing it a lot. He's hearing a lot of the Eagles stuff. I'm sure he'd love it.
I'm sure he would love it. Yeah.
Cleveland reiterates that they're not dealing him.
Well, yeah, but that's also
he can't hold out.
That's a bargaining. All of a sudden you start saying no, we're not going to deal. We're not going to deal. All of a sudden the price goes up.
Or they say we're not going to trade the best defensive player in football.
Yeah, that's possible
and say,
too.
You can sit out if you want. We already saw that.
And you're going to get fined. We saw that with Hassan Reddick. Yeah. All right, what else?
All right, so we had a trade yesterday by the Sixers, second one of the week. Another Martin goes. KJ Martin and 2 second-round picks go to the Detroit Pistons, a salary cap move. Mm-hmm. They're now under the luxury tax. What are your thoughts?
It does nothing for me. I mean, look.
What?
KJ Martin's a nice player. But I'm not losing sleep over the Sixers trading away KJ Martin.
No, what it tells you, though, is they waved the white flag. The season's over. They're not competing anymore. They're not trying to go to the playoffs. They're not trying to do anything. Now, I'm full advocating for this, by the way. But they're telling you you're done.
No,
so
trading KJ Martin's not waving the white flag.
They've already traded 2 players that were supposed to be that I can show you where Daryl Morey said they would be a part of a playoff push. They were guys that were put on this roster to help them in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you know who the playoff push is? It's Joel Embiid if he plays. It's
They're
Paul
not,
George
but
if he
they
plays.
don't
It's
have the
Tyrese
depth
Maxey.
to do a thing. They don't have the depth to do a
well,
thing.
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I don't think anyone's screaming championship at this point
No,
when it
but
comes to the Sixers.
what it tells you
I don't
is the
think they're
white-
saying season over. Let's pack up.
Really, the white flag's waved, dude. If you're not seeing it, the white flag is waved.
I don't
they
think
know it's
KJ
waved.
Martin was the white flag.
These
I
are
really
2
don't.
guys who were traded in the last 2 days that Daryl Morey flat out said these are guys that are being strategic
honestly,
for the playoffs.
The Caleb Martin one was the one I was more surprised by.
I would agree.
KJ Martin's,
he's a player.
He's just a player.
Yeah, but 2 second-round
People hyped
picks,
him up.
giving up potential draft capital to move a guy just to get under the luxury tax is just
It's a cheap move.
It's annoying.
It's a billionaire saving money.
Yeah.
I'm glad. But the Commanders probably need new staplers.
Well, they need to flight to Cabo.
By the way, speaking of billionaire, Connor, I didn't tell you about this. Darren Ravel posted the video. I sent it to you, John.
Yes.
So yesterday, I went for a run around the New Orleans area, and I was right near the water. Shad Khan's yacht. $360 million, Connor. You got that? You want to buy Shad Khan's yacht for $360 million? It has a full court, basketball court in it.
It's a little out of my price range, but if I can get a
Connor-
discount, I'm in.
Connor is willing to change his last name to Khan
to
be adopted.
Nah,
Honestly,
man, I'm a Thomas through and through.
Look, I'd be open to it.
Look at
Sell out.
Come on, man.
You are terrible.
I'm very proud of my Salciunas heritage, but
Yeah,
Con
sure
and
you
Kincade
are.
has a
Dude,
nice ring to it.
I'd be
Kincade.
Andrew Kahn. Come on, man.
Uh,
Great job, Connor. We
Thanks,
appreciate
boys.
it. All right, so coming up next,
By the way, great job, Connor, Haley,
Yes.
Brendan, back at the house, doing a great job making sure everything's so coordinated this week. And Jen and Mike on set.
yeah,
We couldn't do it
we're
without them.
doing probably the least work out of everyone.
Yeah, speak for
We just
yourself.
have to kind of talk on the radio, man. All right, coming up next, we'll get back to this adversity discussion. Nick Sirianni spoke a little bit more about that yesterday. Also, so we played you Malcolm Jenkins earlier because he joined the Mike Missanelli Show. Jake Laser joined the Mike Missanelli Show here on Radio Row yesterday, and they asked him about that report. Remember
they
the
did.
report that BG went to Jalen's house?
Oh, yeah.
And then BG went on social media, was like, this didn't happen. We know Jake Glazer would not make something up.
Oh, I know he wouldn't.
So Jake Glazer spoke on that report. You'll hear that coming up next as well. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Winning over stats. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles have been prioritizing that all year, led by Jalen Hurts, who has long talked about winning being the thing that matters most. Well, he talked about the determination, the desire to win yesterday.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
And desire is something this Eagles team has in spades. You saw it from Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson in the NFC Championship game playing hurt. Well, both of those guys were full participants in practice, according to the injury report yesterday. That's some great news for the Birds. Super Bowl 59 comes your way in just 3 days. Sunday, 6:30, down in New Orleans against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. They also made another trade, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. Sixers now under the luxury tax for the season. Flyers play the Caps tonight at 7 p.m. That game here on The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/Fanatic. A lot more guests to come on Kincade and Salciunas. Kurt Warner at 8:55. Kevin Negandhi at 9:10. And Steve Weiss will join us around 9:45. This update's also brought to you by Corona. Join 97.5 The Fanatic this Sunday at Patty Wax on South Street starting at 2 p.m. for the big game pregame show and watch party with Andrew and myself. Enjoy $5 Coronas, $5 Modelo drafts, and exclusive prizes. Don't miss out. Details at 97.5thefanatic.com. Please drink responsibly. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Vacation? Business trip? Don't worry.
It is 8:26 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, as we broadcast live from Radio Row here in New Orleans. Big thank you to FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. They're making this all possible. It's been a lot of fun yesterday doing the show. Today's been very busy and a lot of fun. We got our man Kurt Warner joining us coming up at 9 o'clock. He joined us right after the NFC Championship game. If you remember, he did the call for Westwood 1. He came on with us the next day. And I still remember he said that he believes the ground game of the Eagles could go right to Kansas City and be just as dominant.
And that was the thing, is that he was speaking counter to a lot of the other talking points that a lot of other people had. It is fun, though, to be able to realize how good we have it. As we were just seeing one of the stars of Young Morning Dallas Radio lamenting on the fact that they had the Schottenheimer hire and then they had the Luka trade.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for them.
We're feeling great. We're feeling great. We've got so much to talk about. Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 59. It's been great.
It's been a lot of fun.
So much fun.
And look, I'm trying not to beat the adversity thing to death because I know we've been talking about it a lot, but they're being asked about it a lot. And every time Sirianni speaks on it, like I'm loving every single answer. And we've talked about this a lot yesterday. A lot of the adversity was caused by themselves.
I just answered Steve's email.
Okay.
Steve sends an email, and he goes, "Oh, John, what a flip-flop. You're one of Sirianni's biggest critics about all the drama and everything."
Yes.
And I'm like, yes.
Yes.
And I am just as throaty to step up and say, congratulations to the guy, because he fixed it.
Yeah.
What was real in time was real, and what is real in time now is real. He's not acting like a clown. He's acting like a mature adult. Jeffrey Lurie had a different conversation with him the day after that Cleveland game.
Right.
Than I'm sure they would have this morning.
And you say clown.
Breakfast.
He was literally called a clown by, I think it was Damian Woody, right?
He was.
On national television, he called Nick Sirianni, the head coach of a football team, a clown. And look, Sirianni did do a lot of this stuff to himself, and a lot of the players did as well. There's all kinds of stuff. So here is Sirianni again being asked about some of the issues. And again, another great answer from a guy who's really he is really growing when it comes to his presence at the podium. Here he is talking about it.
You know, obviously that makes for a good story, all that, but, that's a different team, different time. I think one thing we talk a lot about is embracing adversity and how adversity shapes you into the person that you are. So all our setbacks, the 2022 end of the season there, we use to help shape us who we are. It's about embracing adversity and growing from, not only the good things that happen, but also the bad things that happen, because, again, like I said, that just shapes the person, the player, the coach you are.
He's had a great week.
He really has.
He's had since the end of the whole playoffs, he's been great.
And that answer, by the way, that answer's not I'm taking credit for fixing this. It's just, hey, we messed up.
Being honest.
We messed up.
No.
And we are working through it.
See, now I hear it as I messed up. I hear it as him taking ownership of what he did. Too.
Right.
So I really appreciate it. I think it's impressive, and I really do want to see that guy hoist a Lombardi and then see what he can do from there. See what he can, how it's going to go on from there. It's going to be awesome.
Now, the other clip we want to play for you here before we get back to our texts and our calls at 610-632-0975. Yesterday, Jake Glazer, speaking of adversity and setbacks.
Yes.
One of the big things was about Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni and the relationship. I mean, that was talked about a lot, and it was real.
And his credibility got attacked, I believe, completely unfair.
Oh, I completely agree with you. So the Hurts and Sirianni beef, I don't know what you want to call it, but they did not have a great relationship this offseason. It carried into training camp. It carried into the season, and it carried into the bye week. And Jake Glazer, probably about a month ago now it was, because it was out
Around
of the blue.
So
it was out of the blue. He told this story.
It was in December. It was before Christmas.
That's right. But he was talking about the bye week, and he told a story that Brandon Graham and I believe Big Dom as well went to Jalen Hurts' house, and Brandon Graham, give him credit, went to the house with the intention of, hey, this is what you need to work on as not just a leader, but as a human being with other human beings. Like, I get it. You're tunnel vision, you're grounded, you're very humble, but sometimes you got to be you. And I love the stories that have been coming out from the locker room, him playing pool. Have you read those?
I viewed this all as a positive.
Yes, I loved all this
stuff.
stuff.
But it was weird because a lot of people took it as a negative.
Really?
That they took it as, oh my God, Jalen's such a diva. They got to go and pander to Jalen and teach him what to do. Some people are just wired differently.
Right.
And I can tell you, because of the way he was raised in football by Nick Saban, he was raised to not trust us ever.
Media's the enemy, man.
And Nick Saban would win a national championship, and the big thing was the next morning he was recruiting by 9 a.m., 10 a.m.
Because he wanted to win again.
I don't want to sell it. I don't want to wait. Hey, we're on to next year.
Right.
Jalen was raised in that, and I think he took it a little too seriously.
So here was Jay Glazer. Mike asked him about the report that Jay Glazer got a lot of pushback on. Brandon Graham went on social media saying this was incorrect. Here's Glazer talking about it.
Yeah, actually, Jalen and I talked about it. BG and I waved at each other, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys doing? I know BG was – he took a beating the week before, right?
Yeah.
So I think he just didn't want his name in anything after that. And then I even had someone, hey, you got to take one for the team here. I'm like, I'm going to take nothing for the team. I'm not on a team. But you guys know me and my reputation when I come out with things. But also, who cares who went where? That wasn't the story. The story was, I told this to Jalen, dude, the story is that during the bye week, he did go take these extra steps to connect with, he went met with the offensive line. He went took the corners out, or their defensive backs out for dinner. Him and Nick did a lot together. So credit to Jalen. I'm like, dude, look, if you guys want to say whoever went to your house didn't, I don't really care. But the story is what you did. And that kind of got lost in it because I think a lot of times whenever I have something, people are like, oh my God, Jay Glazer said something.
And it's funny. You're spot on, John. For some reason, people took that as a negative, and I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
And I credit BG for doing it, and then I credit Jalen Hurts for going, all right, yeah, you're right.
I think part of the problem was this was all coming on the heels of Brandon Graham getting smacked on the hands because he was giving too much information away about Jalen and AJ going back and forth, which, by the way, has since been, yes, that was real. They were, but brothers can have beef.
Yeah, it happens. And so Jay Glazer sticking by that report that he gave. Again, randomly in December when the bye week happened in week 5, as we remember, and I thought it was a positive report too. And I think it must be the BG factor where Brandon Graham tried denying it because of what was going on in the media the week before.
Yeah, he keeps getting Brandon Graham is always going to talk a lot.
But I thought that was a positive story from the very beginning. All right, let's go to the phones, Connor. Let's go to Chris in Allentown's been holding on for a little bit. What's up, Chris? You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
For a little bit. I actually forgot that I was on hold, gentlemen. How we doing today?
Oh, what's up, Chris?
What's up, buddy?
Sorry, man. We've been fired up. We've been busy here on Radio Row.
I love it. I love it in some aspects, man. We got all these national media guys on here that have been talking smack about us all freaking year, not even backing this team. I'll be honest with you, this is probably the best time to be an Eagles fan. I have never pumped my chest like this before in any playoff run that we've ever had. I have never had this much confidence that we are going to hoist that Lombardi trophy in about 49 hours.
And you know what? I love this, Chris. You're embracing it. We literally did a segment on this yesterday. I feel like there are people that sometimes don't want to embrace the confidence, and you're doing that right now, and that's great.
Dude, I'm loving it, man. There's nothing. I mean, when you look at the talent and the ferocity of this team and how they play and how physical they are, I don't care if we don't score on that first drive. I don't care if we don't score on that second drive. It's about that third and that fourth quarter when we grind that team down and we just have our way. It's like an NFL team playing a college team in the third and fourth quarter with this team. I'm honestly, God, the Chiefs have no chance. This is a blowout. This is a 34-17
Wow.
34-17. I will call you guys back Monday morning.
That's chesty. I like it, though.
I like that, Chris. Chris, I appreciate the call,
Chris.
brother. That's fantastic.
Now he's
34-17.
I got to tell you, I'm chesty about this game, but I'm not going that. That's bold and beautiful. That is awesome.
They're doubling them up, man.
Wow.
34-17. I love that.
Anything that makes my fourth quarter not stressful,
yeah,
I'll be fine. By the way, I'm watching alone with my bride and Nikki.
It's official. You made the decision.
I made the decision.
Well,
Doc had a party to go to.
Okay,
so that's perfect.
Well, we have a party to go to if you wanted to join us. Join Connor Thomas and I at Patty Wax on South Street.
That's a great place to party too. I will watch the game in the Kincade alone.
Big shout out to Corona for helping our coverage of the big game this upcoming Sunday. And again, big thank you to FanDuel for making this all possible as we are down here live on Radio Row. Coming up next, we'll talk a little bit more about Brandon Graham because he did speak to the media yesterday and said that this is it. And so I do want to talk about Brandon Graham and his career. Like,
that's it.
He's a historic all-time Eagle. So we'll talk about Brandon Graham a little bit, and also Myles Garrett. We'll play the clip for you again. He's got eyes on the Eagles. Why not? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
On 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles got some good injury news on the first report of Super Bowl week. So we've been waiting with bated breath to see if Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson were going to be good to go for the Super Bowl. The assumption was that they'll be able to play with the week-long layoff in between the NFC Championship game and the start of Super Bowl week. But we found out yesterday from the first injury report, Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, full participants in practice. So they should be good to go for the big game on Sunday. We did see Jalen Carter was listed as limited with an illness, Devontae Smith with a hamstring. So we'll keep an eye on those guys, but limited with the Super Bowl coming up, these guys have found a way to play through all year. They have that desire to win, and their leader, Jalen Hurts, talked about putting that desire to win over stats yesterday.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
We'll see if the Eagles have one more win in them. Coming your way Sunday, 6:30 from New Orleans against the Kansas City Chiefs. It is Super Bowl 59. We'll keep you updated on all of that. This update is brought to you by Corona. Join 97.5 The Fanatic this Sunday at Patty Wax on South Street starting at 2 p.m. for the big game pregame show and watch party with Andrew Salciunas and myself. Enjoy $5 Coronas, $5 Modelo drafts, and exclusive prizes. Don't miss out. Details at 97.5thefanatic.com. Please drink responsibly. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
coverage of the big game in the Big Easy is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Also brought to you by True Mark Financial Credit. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It is 8:42 on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, as we broadcast live from Radio Row here in New Orleans. Thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook for making this possible. All right, so we mentioned it going into the break. We talked about Brandon Graham last segment a little bit because of the Jay Glazer report. Jay Glazer was on with Mike yesterday and talked about the report that he made that got a lot of pushback for whatever reason, that Brandon Graham went to Jalen Hurts' house during the bye week to basically say, hey, listen, we love you. We just need you to be a little bit more personable with your teammates. That was a positive report, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand. It was a very positive report, except for the part that Big Dom had to insert himself into it.
Yes,
Other than that, I have no idea why Big Dom is involved.
Maybe BG didn't know where Jalen lived.
Oh, my gosh.
And Big Dom's got all that information, Johnny.
I'll drive you over.
With his golf cart.
Jump in my car.
With his golf cart.
Yeah, exactly.
The one that's got his name on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So Brandon Graham spoke to the media yesterday and said this is it. So, first off, it seems like he's playing.
Oh, I think he's playing.
He has to.
I don't think he would have told you that this is it unless he knew he was playing.
He said twice this week. He slipped up and said, I'm playing. So
I'm playing.
He's playing.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
He's playing. And more importantly, what? Is he going to give you something that Bryce Huff can't?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Getting on the field is already something that Bryce Huff can't do, clearly.
Exactly.
So it's going to be really cool to see Brandon Graham playing again on Sunday. He deserves this opportunity. But, man, I mean, you think about his career, and he is going down as one of the most memorable Eagles ever. I mean, because of the strip sack.
He is.
Right, if that play doesn't happen, we'll still speak of Brandon Graham fondly. But
of course we will.
Because of that strip sack, he becomes
legendary.
An Eagles legend.
I have a canvas art piece on my wall of Brandon Graham stripping Tom Brady. That was done by one of the local fine artists here in town.
Yeah.
And my wife's favorite football play ever was that play. So we have it on our wall. Brandon Graham is legendary.
Yeah, and he's played the most games ever, in Eagles franchise history, and it's just it's going to be sad to see him go. I know this year was rough because of the comments that he made about Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown and their relationship, and I know
he
that
got a little chatty.
Yeah, he did.
A little too chatty about stuff that you don't have to be talking about. And I think he realized his mistake.
Yeah, and he tried fixing it. And look, he did. Remember, it was reported he spoke to the team afterward, apologized and everything.
It's one of the things where I say a lot of players, when they get towards the end of their career, they so want to be in the media.
Yeah.
That they start making sure that they're front and center of sharing information and being at the center of stuff. And I think he just overstepped a bit. But Brandon Graham, I guarantee you none of it was malicious.
Right.
I guarantee you none of it was, you know what I mean? Everything's done with, I could share this. I'm personable. You listen to me. And that's what broke down there.
Yeah, so, it's going to be sad to see him play his last one, but it's
going to be. No.
It could be really, really freaking awesome.
If it's pouring confetti on him,
yeah.
I don't think there's anything better. And I personally, if it was the end of your career, I would think you would like nothing more than to know you got one game and it means freaking everything.
Yeah, and let's face it. Like, I know he's coming off of an injury, and he's talked about it. One of the biggest tests for him is whether or not his arm will be strong enough. Man, it's the Super Bowl. Do you know how much adrenaline is going to be pumping through his veins?
I'm just so thrilled, and it shows you the dedication that he was able to get back and to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Because if he wasn't on the field on Sunday, it would have felt a little hollow. Like
you're right.
Seeing him
on the sideline, it would have been sad if he in the jumpsuit.
If he was wearing one of those stupid Squid Game jumpsuits like they wore the other night with the fanny pack. Ridiculous look. What a terrible. Who designs those things?
I don't know.
I thought it was a good look.
Connor likes it.
You like fanny packs?
It was
you like
just
the little fanny
a
pack?
pocket.
It's a gigantic pocket. It's a fanny pack.
Oh, the pocket police are out in force down there.
It's unbelievable.
That's awesome,
That
man.
thing was terrible.
All right, give us one text there, Connor, and then we got our man Kurt Warner ready to go, who will be joining us next segment.
All right, so we have a lot of people still checking in on this conversation about the future and rebuilding this. I think this is a great point here from Will in Costa Rica, who says, You got to get that Negadelphia stuff out of here with this team not being able to come back. This team has one thing the other 31 teams don't. Howie Roseman. You can't doubt that man. Come on, John. We're 4 days away from the beginning of a new true dynasty.
Another stupid text. Sorry, Will.
Oh, come on,
Stupid
text.
First of all, if I've said all week, if I've said for weeks that they were going to win a Super Bowl,
that's not Negadelphia.
How is that Negadelphia?
Yeah,
so
that's
stop.
not Negadelphia.
So stop with the knee jerk. I'm not even listening to the show, and I'm texting. You're not listening to the show, Will. I know it's beautiful in Costa Rica.
Yeah,
today.
that sounds
I thought he was down in Virginia.
That sounds
and he
pretty
just
nice.
calls himself Will from Costa Rica. Remember last time he was on?
No, that was a different. That was a different Costa
That's
Rica.
a different Costa Rica.
Yeah, we got a big boom in Costa Rica.
Don't cry for me, Costa Rica.
That's good work by you. All right, coming up next as we broadcast live here on Radio Row, Kurt Warner joins us here in person.
Kurt
which
Warner
we're excited
looks like
about.
he could still play.
Yeah, he looks like he could still sling it. He was very, very positive about the Eagles after the NFC Championship game going into the Super Bowl. So we can't wait to hear, now that he's had a week and a half to really analyze this upcoming matchup. We'll talk to him about that. It's coming up next. It's Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Dickerson and Juergens good to go. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles got some great injury news yesterday as we get to just 3 days from Super Bowl Sunday. Both Cam Juergens and Landon Dickerson were full participants in practice after having those issues in the NFC Championship game. They look like they're good to go for Sunday. And Jalen Hurts talked about something those guys showed in the NFC Championship game, the desire to win and putting it over. Stats.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
We'll see if that desire can carry Jalen Hurts and company through one more game. Sunday, 6:30 for Super Bowl 59 against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. They also made another trade, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. The team's now under the luxury tax for this season. Flyers play the Caps tonight at 7 p.m. That game can be heard right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The guys will talk to Kurt Warner coming up next and Kevin Negandhi at 9:10, Steve Weish at 9:45. This update's brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Not only can you listen to The Fanatic, but you can also watch on 97.5 The Fanatic's YouTube channel.
Watch the live stream of Kincade and Salciunas, weekdays from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and the Mike Missanelli Show from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Go to youtube.com/97.5 The Fanatic Philadelphia and subscribe today to be part of the action.
Sandra, have you noticed a spring in your step when you're walking through your house? And I'm not talking about I'm in a great mood, I got a spring in my step, the birds are about to play in the big 7:55 here on Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic, here on Radio Row in New Orleans. So 7:55 for us here. I don't want to confuse our next guest. We're speaking.
Warner's not confused.
I know he's not, but we're speaking to the Philadelphia audience. I don't want him thinking that I just drank too much last night. Kurt Warner.
He knows that. He already talked to you.
You can see Kurt on NFL Network's Super Bowl 59 countdown Saturday, February 8th at 8 o'clock, and during more 60 hours of live Super Bowl week coverage on NFL Network and NFL Plus. Kurt, we appreciate you coming on this morning.
You got it. Good to be here with you guys, and this is kind of kicking it off for me. Got in last night and ready to pick things up, and so good to be with you guys.
You have some good memories of Super Bowls.
I do have some good memories.
And different
and
memories.
some not so good
but
memories.
different memories.
But yeah, no. I mean, this week is just great. I mean, playing in it, covering it, just being able to, to understand the history of our game, and, every year how somebody's going to write their name in the history books or what that story is going to be. I mean, you guys have covered so many Super Bowls. I mean, what's going to be that moment? Who's going to be the guy that makes the play? It's just always an incredible week. So I'm blessed to be able to cover it, after playing in a few of them. As a player,
How distracting is this week?
I think it's one of those things that the first time around, I remember getting to the game and thinking, can we just get the game over with? Yeah. I was worn out. You didn't quite embrace it because you're like, I just want to go play a football game. And then it's media, and especially back at that time, they gave out the MVP, during the week. So they're rolling you around to this thing and then the next thing. And then the second time around, I'm like, okay, I know what it's all about. And you settle in and embrace it more. And when you embrace it, now you're like, I get it. I'm going to have to do a bunch of media. I'm going to have to go here, and I'm going to have to – and so now when your mindset is different, I think it's easier to handle. So I think that's kind of the great thing about this Super Bowl is you've got a bunch of guys that have been here before. The Eagles being here just 2 years ago, and obviously the Chiefs here every year. That they understand it and they get it. And so to me, it's kind of like we know what we're getting. We know what we're getting into. We know what the schedule is. And now we can just kind of settle in, do our job, and then get ready to go on Sunday.
Kurt, it was one of those things, and I've always wanted to ask you this question because I was in person there when you won your first Super Bowl, and I was also there when you lost the Super Bowl, but you didn't lose it. Both Super Bowls, you had to watch the opposing team have the ball, and you had nothing of control at the end of that game. You just had to be a spectator to it. How it's so bad for fans. How was it for you watching your team with a chance to win a Super Bowl both times, once give it up in the second time and once take it from them?
Well, you know what I always say is that it's the ultimate team sport. I coached high school football for a while, and I used to always tell –
How many years did you do that?
6 years when my boys were playing. And so I remember telling my kids every year, the greatest thing about football is that it's a team sport. So you go out, you win and lose as a team. It takes everybody. You get to celebrate as a group. But sometimes the worst thing about football is that it's a team sport because you don't get to flip over like in baseball and, hey, didn't play well in the field, I can go hit. Or playing basketball, hey, my shot's not on, I can go play defense and have an impact. And so, you do have to depend on everybody. And so you talked about the two that I lost.
I mean, your team held them at the half-yard line.
Yeah, right. Even the one that I won, that was the beautiful thing because, we all play the game out in our front yard a million times. And every time I played it out, I threw the touchdown pass to win it with no time on the clock. It was like, oh, we complete it, game over, we win. And then in my first Super Bowl, I'm able to have that moment with 2 minutes to go. But then I got to watch for 2 minutes while – Steve McNair and company drive down. But that was the beautiful thing is that you got to see, because we were the greatest show on turf, right? We were all about offense.
You were.
But it was defense that made the play that solidified the Super Bowl. And so to me, it's just the ultimate team sport. And so, yes, I've had it work out on both sides. And sometimes that's frustrating. But that's the beautiful thing is that you just know when you win and when you win a championship, it's never about one guy. It's never about one side of the ball. It's about everybody coming together, to win and lose those games together. And, so it's just it's part of the deal. And I think the other side, too, is in those Super Bowls, right, you see other great players make great plays. And, we talk about that all the time in these games is they're going to be close. sometimes who's got the ball last and can
You
they
never
make
had the ball at
play.
the end, though, ever.
I know.
In any of them.
I know. You know, you sit back sometimes and wonder, hey, could I have had the
Could
one?
it have been
could I have
different?
been the one that had the last drive? But, you know, I saw Tom Brady start his dynasty in that moment. Ben Roethlisberger, great Hall of Famer that makes that play in the moment. And so that's what it's all about, is making the play when you get an opportunity. I'm proud that and felt like I did that when I got my opportunity to put us in those positions. But some other guys did it, did it last and were able to get the victories.
Kurt, you joined us right after the NFC Championship game, the morning after, and you saw Jalen Hurts play very well in that game. I mean, the Eagles put up 55 points against the Commanders. The first two games, the numbers weren't really there, but he was efficient. Can you talk about the play of Jalen Hurts through the 3 games that they've had so far in the playoffs, and try to explain why people don't give him more respect? Because you got the Hurts versus Mahomes, so you know it's all Mahomes.
Yeah.
But Hurts played well.
He has played well, and you know, I think you guys hear it. The theme with Jalen Hurts is that he's a winner, and he's willing to do what it takes to win. And, you know, sometimes, you know, I watch through a quarterback's lens, and so when I watch every play individually, and it's like, oh, why didn't he throw that? Or why didn't he, you know, go here or get rid of the ball quick? You know, like all of these things. But I think sometimes you have to step back and go, you have to look at it from a bigger scope and say, maybe he's just not taking some chances with the football because he understands the team that he has.
Right.
And so, yeah, maybe I could make that throw because we saw him, you know, NFC Championship game, the last Super Bowl he played in. We've seen him make some throws. So you know what he's capable of. And sometimes I just wonder if he's like, I just don't have to. So if I have to hold the football and take a sack or run for 4 yards instead of making that deep throw, I can do that with this team because they don't need me to be that guy. And I think you have to be able to appreciate guys that are willing to do that because in a day and age where it's like, hey, I want to throw for 300 yards and I want to be that guy and I want to show people doing what you have to do to win. You know, you can look at the guy on the other side, and Patrick Mahomes, for years he threw for 300 yards a game, and he was the wow guy. And now he's throwing for 150 yards in the playoffs.
Right.
But it's, hey, I make the play that I need to make in the moment, whatever that is. I think Jalen does a great job with that. It's a big reason why they're here. But it's understanding your situation and what's called for. But I think that's why sometimes we know he can do more. We've seen him. Like, why are you not? And maybe some of it is just, I know I could have made that throw, but it's like, why take that chance instead of just be smart and find ways to win?
because I have Saquon Barkley to hand the football off.
Right, we got a number 1 defense in the league. Like, you know, a lot of things that you can point to. But he's, you know, here he is. Yeah, you know, as I was thinking, I'm talking to A.J. Brown, I was interviewing him earlier, and it's like 2 Super Bowls in 3 years is impressive. You know, I know it gets overshadowed because the Chiefs are so good, but, like, let's just look at what they've done as well. They've had a good 3-year run here, and a big part of it is because of Jalen Hurts.
Now, one of the things Kurt Warner's doing, because he doesn't golf, which I found out, which depressed me a little bit, he has Quarterback Confidential. It's the comprehensive learning platform. You go to quarterbackconfidential.com. It's for football players, coaches, and fans, but it's from a quarterback's perspective. Right. And you're talking about chemistry and technique and things like that. So when you look at both of these quarterbacks, which one would you have rather coached?
Which one would I have rather coached?
So
I mean,
from the things that you teach at Quarterback Confidential, because these are 2 different cats.
Right, they are.
The way they approach the game.
Yeah, and I think my answer would be
you'd like both of them.
Both of them, but I think everybody's going to say Patrick Mahomes because he's one of a kind, and as a coach, you can go, oh, yeah, he can cover for me a little bit. But, you know, the other thing I love about Patrick is I think he does everything well. Like, he plays really well in the pocket. Probably doesn't get as much credit for that because he does all the other wild stuff. But that, to me, is fun. A guy that can see and think and you know, play the game kind of like I did, I think would be fun to coach. But I would love to work with Jalen, too, because I think he's got some unique skill sets. But I also think, you know, there's room for him to grow in terms of being a pocket passer, which would be fun for me, too, because I know he's got all the physical skill and being able to, I think, sometimes simplify the game. Take these guys to a place where I think we overcomplicate it sometimes. You know, it's like, oh, you got to see what's going on. And instead of just going, hey, let's simplify it and allow you to play the game faster and better, you know, from the shoulders up, so you don't have to play as much from the shoulders down, even though both these guys can do that really well.
You're listening to 97.5, The Fanatic, WPEN, WPEN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from New Orleans. through the Comcast Business Studio powering possibilities. And we're joined by Kurt Warner, who's a very busy man. Super Bowl Sunday, wake up and catch Kurt and the rest of the crew for a special 8.5-hour edition of NFL Game Day morning.
Don't ask me. I don't
Starting
know.
at 9 o'clock
I don't know what we're doing for
That's a
8.5
long
hours.
day, Kurt.
Do you have an agent or do you not? That you got roped 8.5 hours?
I don't know.
Seriously.
We just keep extending it but I mean that's the thing that you realize with this game is people get up in the morning and it's all about the Super Bowl. So they're going to pop the TV on and they're going to listen and they're going to get their food ready and it becomes an all-day affair. So we kind of just say, hey, we'll be there all day. And the one thing I love about it is even though 8.5 hours is long, but it allows us to go into all the little nuances of the game and the different matchups and what's going to happen and all the stuff that I've worked 22 weeks for and, that I prepared for. You get a chance to talk about all of those little things, which this game has a bunch of those.
What's your last game to be able to talk about? And we're wondering Monday morning what kind of show we're going to have in Philadelphia.
I'm sure you are.
I'm very confident that I think I know.
Okay, you really?
What do you? Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't want to give you
I don't know how
insights.
you feel confident in this game, other than I get it.
I
sit back and say I think the Eagles have the better roster.
Yep.
They have the better team. They can win more ways than the Chiefs can. But if you're confident that Patrick Mahomes can't find a way to win this game, I think you're nuts. Because we've seen it. And I sit back and say, how is this team 15-1 this year?
Well, what does this guy know about football?
How does it happen? And so they're incredible at doing what they have to do. Like, going into last week, against the Bills, they haven't scored 30 points in a game all year. Like, I don't know if they can keep up with the Bills. The Bills are – what do? They go score 32 points in the game the first time all year. They do what they have to do. So I'm not confident, although I do believe the Eagles are the better team, and so I lean in that direction. But they've got the ultimate X factor in Patrick Mahomes.
Do you think when the Chiefs won Super Bowls before that they weren't the better team? I think they were the better team last year. And I think they were technically the better team when they beat them 2 years ago.
I'm not sure they were. Definitely pieces were better. But their offense the last 2 years to me have been just a bunch of kind of guys. Like you look around and go, how's this offense generate besides Travis Kelce, points to win a Super Bowl? And so I don't know if they're always the better team. I think we can look at them a little differently than maybe just looking at superstars across the board. But maybe they were. I just think, but they've all come down to in the moment. Patrick, get the ball in your hands, and he's been able to finish it for him. And so I think that's the key for the Eagles is we got to separate this thing for at least 2 scores so it doesn't come down to just that one possession with number 15.
All right, last one for you, Kerr. I know you're going to be a busy man walking around Radio Row. You say you watch the game through the eyes of the quarterback. So you're Patrick Mahomes. You're dropping back to pass, and there's a guy named Jalen Carter coming after you. How terrifying is it going up against a guy like Jalen Carter?
The biggest thing is you don't even think about Jalen Carter. And he makes you think about him, and he will hit you. But that's the one thing you realize as a quarterback is you got to trust your 5 guys up front, even when they don't give you a reason to trust them. And you got to believe that if I do my job well enough and fast enough, that Jalen can't get there. And that's the only way to play in these games because once you start thinking about those guys – it's over. Like, okay, where's he at? Is he coming? And so as great as they are, and they've got a number of different really good pass rushers, as a quarterback, you just got to say, I'm blocking those guys up front out, and I got to do my job, and I got to do it as fast and as well as I can.
Kurt, we appreciate the time, man.
Thank you. Got it, guys.
So
Hope we have a good show on Monday.
We're expecting it. All right, coming up next, another guest here on Radio Row. Our man Kevin Negandhi is going to be joining us. I can't wait to finally meet him in person.
Now you got to get that hug.
All these years, unbelievable. Kevin Negandhi joins us next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
The Birds Insider pregame show. Bigger and better for the big
Bagster.com.
It is Kincade and Salciunas here live on Radio Row in New Orleans, and I finally got to meet him in person. The power of radio. You get to know somebody over years and years and years, but then you never meet him in person till today.
I didn't know this till yesterday, and he brings it up over a cocktail that he'd never, ever been in your presence. I'm like, well, there's something special. There's something special about knowing Kevin Negandhi, but you knew him. And you feel like you know.
I mean, we've been talking for years.
I said that Negandhi hug. You got to get it.
And I got it. I got the Negandhi hug, man.
It's good to see
How
you
are you,
guys.
man?
I'm great.
This segment sponsored by Klein College of Media.
Temple made
which
Temple
tells you
proud, man.
Mike Missanelli could not assemble a bunch of Penn State media members for a segment.
Absolutely.
Radio Row, we know that.
Yeah, tell Mike that, personally as well.
He
If
always
I
takes-
see him.
Yes, you'll see him.
Okay,
You'll
looking
see him
forward to
there.
that.
He's having a mani-pedi right now. getting ready for the show.
So, Kev, you're saying basically what we're saying. We got this weird confidence, man.
It's
about
crazy.
This game.
Chunas, it's crazy. I'm one of those guys, a very realistic person, and then I lean to the disaster because as Philly fans at heartbreak.
Right.
I felt that way against the Packers. I very much felt that way against the Rams. I was like a mess with the Rams.
I remember. We had you on. We talked about
He was taking shots at your hometown because
he
of
was. Yeah. Is that when you use the word soft, right?
Soft.
Yeah. I didn't forget Kincade.
You see this?
But the thing is, I feel really good about this game. Listen, it's going to come down to when you look at the roster, the Eagles have the better roster. It comes down to the quarterback and the head coach. Hey, advantage Chiefs on both sides. But guess what? In 2017, it was advantage Patriots, right? Eagles had a better roster, and they found a way. My concern will be two things specifically. I was talking to Teddy Bruschi this morning, and he was like, listen, one of the advantages you guys have is the tush push. That plays a huge role. And I said, really what plays a huge role is the health of Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson to run the tush push, right? That to me concerns me because if those two guys are not healthy, Spags is going to find the A-gap and send everybody, right? So on first and second down, guys, it is critical they get 4 and 5 yard gains here, and they find a way to get Goddard involved with the quick pass or that little pitch across the middle. It's really important because they're going to focus on Saquon. It's important that they get Devontae on those 6 yard outs, right? Because then it sets up a 3rd and short instead of anticipating a blitz.
So what are we talking about Monday? In your gut instinct, are we talking about the Eagles' offense leading them to a Super Bowl championship?
No.
You're saying defense.
We're talking about what Vic Fangio did on the final drive with Patrick Mahomes
don't give
having
me
the
final
football.
drive.
I can't do this.
We're all going to do it.
No, he thinks they're winning by like 10.
Who, the Eagles?
Yes.
I think they're winning by 11.
I hope they have a 10-point lead with 5 minutes to go.
That'd be great.
Because if we have a 1-score lead and 15 has the ball, we are all gripping.
Oh, no, we're gripping all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to talk to Kurt Warner about it? In 3 Super Bowls, he got 1 ring.
Yeah.
He never had the ball in his hand at the end of the game.
It's crazy.
He lost 2 games where he had the lead.
Yep.
And his defense coughed it up.
Yes.
That must be the most helpless feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jalen Hurts went through that, right?
Because
remember,
because Jalen did not lose.
We wanted them to score, and Jalen wanted them to score because you knew that the way Jalen was playing in that second half, he was on a heater.
Yeah,
Aside from that fumble in the first half, he was phenomenal. And Jonathan Gannon's not the DC of this team. Vic Fangio is. And I don't want to hear about, hey, Fangio's 0-8 against Mahomes and the Chiefs.
No,
that's when he was the coach of the
it.
Broncos, too,
and
right?
His teams scored 21 points twice of those 8.
And I'll add one other thing, too, and Fangio's talked about it this week with the team. They're playing on turf. This team has speed. That front 4 has speed. That killed us in Arizona because we had a phenomenal front 4. Remember all the sacks that we had, and they kept on slipping off that turf that they brought in, right? So I think that plays a huge role in this game of the speed that the Eagles have defensively. I am also concerned about another thing, and I brought this up, I think, to you guys. It's just the middle of the field defensively with Kelsey, and then the minute you get that coverage, Mahomes will find a way on a 3rd and 7 to run up the middle. And if they could find a way to limit his runs to extend drives, I feel really good going into a game like this. But here's the other thing. I'll add one
What's
thing.
that?
How do we feel about Jake Elliott if he has to kick a field goal to win a game?
So what did I say, John?
I'm fancying myself a noose.
Last week,
I can't handle that.
Last
can't handle it either.
I asked John to close his eyes and tell me what's the moment in the Super Bowl. You think back to 52, you think about the strip sack, right?
Yeah.
I closed my eyes. I said, dude, I see Jake getting carried off the field. I think he wins it.
Salciunas.
And we are going to hate
so.
our lives for that minute to 2 minutes.
It'll be brutal.
Because Andy's going to ice it, call a timeout. We're going to sit there miserable.
The memory I have is that when he asked me that question, I said, I see A.J. Brown romping with real estate.
Oh, I would love that.
It popped into my head, A.J. Brown in space, and everybody just going, okay, this is happening.
It's crazy, guys, to even be talking about this because honestly, like, I hope we're not breaking everybody's heart because I feel the same way that, like, I just don't want Sunday night to be one of those, like, what the hell just happened? What did we just watch, right? Because we've prepared ourselves from being hurt emotionally. We've gone through it all. And I just don't want to be in that position. But, again, I'm in the same vibe with you guys. I feel really good heading into it.
The people, though, the 6 p.m. Sports Center anchor, he could go to the Super Bowl if he wants.
Yes.
He just says, I want to be there. But instead, you want to be back with your boys.
I do.
I love that.
I do. So, again, I've talked about this a handful of times. Yes, and my wife.
Who obviously dresses you because I knew you when you didn't dress
Does
as
not
well.
dress me. I take pride in my suits and my ties. I take pride.
Yeah, but
in
look
it.
at now.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Definitely
casual.
did not dress.
Wow, exactly.
So, my connection, I think, for many, many generations is with your parents and their love for football, right? And that's how I fell in love with the Eagles with my dad and my brother, right? So I went to 2017. I was there in Minnesota. My kids were super young.
Yeah.
Right.
And I took the whole family to Arizona, and I watched the whole game with the family. It was a phenomenal experience. I wasn't working. It was a great time, and I just want to be around my boys. My daughter's 8. She's great because she's really upset that Travis is dating Taylor because he's a Chief. Because she's the diehard. She was like, "Can you get me on the field like Taylor?" I said, "Daddy can do a lot of things. Daddy can't do
He's
that."
not doing that. Yeah.
And so we talked at length about the whole thing, and I said, "I'm coming back." And my wife was like, "Why? Stay." I said, "No." And my 12-year-old was like, "Dad, you should stay." I said, "Absolutely not. Whatever happens, it's going to be a lasting memory for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah.
And I want you to be with me, win or lose." And hopefully
I
win.
love that.
So you'll never forget it. When the Eagles lost 2 years ago, he's crying. Our seats were great. He's crying, and he wouldn't get off the field like where we were, like watching the field. And I said, guys, we're going to be okay. It's part of sports. You live, you learn, you move on, right? I said I need to be around him.
It's the truth. Hey, if you want to host the 6 p.m. Sports Center,
yeah.
It's Klein College of Media.
Yes.
That's all you
and the
got to
Temple
do.
Tough Fun coming
Absolutely. Temple Tough Fun. Yes. I cannot wait for February 25th in town. I want to see you two guys.
We're
We'll
trying
be
to do
there.
that.
We'll be there.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk more about it and building up to it. Again, Woj and I doing stuff for NIL for both of our programs, St. Bonaventure and Temple. And go Owls, go Birds.
It'll just be the continued party after the Eagles win the Super
Hell
Bowl.
yeah.
Part of it. There we go.
There's our man Kevin
Good job,
Negandhi
Kev.
here on Radio Row. Don't forget Steve Weich from the NFL Network coming up around 9:45. Coming up next, we'll reset today's show, and, of course, we'll play some more audio from you. It's been a very, very busy day today, but we love it. It is Kincade and Salciunas here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The desire to win. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. The Eagles have proven all year long they have the desire to win, and it's been a focus over stats led by their leader, Jalen Hurts, who reiterated the message again yesterday from down in New Orleans.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game oversees everything else. And so whether it's whatever stats are out there, good, bad, or indifferent, I ask myself, did I win?
The Birds have one more game to prove that they're winners like Jalen Hurts wants to be. They'll take on the Chiefs in Super Bowl 59 just 3 days from now, Sunday, 6:30. They got some good injury news as well. Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, both full participants in practice yesterday. Sixers fell to the Heat 108-101 last night. Also made another trade, sending K.J. Martin and 2 second-round picks to the Detroit Pistons as a salary relief move. Sixers are now under the luxury tax for this season. Flyers will play the Caps tonight at 7 p.m. That game will be live here on 97.5 The Fanatic. The guys will talk to Steve Weich coming up around 9:45. This update's also brought to you by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage for a limited time. Go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. Add code radio and get an extra 5% off. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's time for Birds Playoff Conversation.
I'm in the calm zone. I can't be anxious all week. I'm not nervous at all.
No, I'm calm right now.
I'm in
97.5 The Fanatic, broadcasting live from Radio Row here in New Orleans. Again, special thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel for getting us down here and all the great coverage that we've been providing for you. Also, a big thank you to TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Visit TrueMark.com or one of the 24 local branches to learn more. So we've been busy. We still have more guests to come. Our man Steve Weish, a big friend of John Kincaid's, will be joining us coming up around 9:45 from the NFL Network. By the way, all of our interviews that we've had, Kevin Negandhi just last segment, Kurt Warner beginning at the 9 o'clock hour. All those can be heard again on 97.5thefanatic.com. Check out our YouTube page because we did bring the YouTube equipment. So we're live on YouTube. I don't know. I haven't mentioned that. We've been live on YouTube.
The YouTube audience has been there. So
yeah, I understand. But for
great.
people that are listening that don't typically watch on YouTube, you can watch us, and all our guests that we're having here are right here on set.
And they could go back and watch later today.
Yes, they can.
And the way that Haley works her magic,
she does a great job.
You can always go back and just get the stuff you might be looking for by going to the YouTube page.
Yep. Now, speaking of guests, the Mike Missanelli show has a pretty big one today, Johnny.
Josh Shapiro, the governor, is up at 1 o'clock today. And my belief is Josh Shapiro has wanted the Eagles to win all along. So I hope that Governor Shapiro will not disappoint today at 1 o'clock with Mike Missanelli.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to disappoint
They are
at
just
all.
talking football, by the way. Just talking football.
Okay, well, yeah.
So it'll be football.
Of course,
with
man.
I know.
He's a Birds fan. Why
love it. That's
wouldn't
good.
he,
Let's
man?
keep it going.
That's fantastic. All right, Connor, let's check out our text line a little bit here because we've been so busy we haven't really had a chance to talk to the people much. So we'll get some texts and calls here about what our topics have been so far today. You can text in, call in 610-632-0975. What do we got, Connor?
All right, so LeGrand in Cambridge, Maryland, checks in, says no one sees Jim Kelly and says, "What's up, champ? We got to get the win. Getting there validates nothing. If Jalen loses, and that's how they'll spin it if he does, he'll be permanently labeled not good enough until he does. They got to go get one."
I love that.
But that's not my response to John talking about the urgency thing. I think
that is the point of the urgency.
No, but what I'm saying is they could. If they don't win on Sunday, I don't think they're done.
How many guys lose 2 Super Bowls and win a third?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you. It's not a good number. You don't want to look it up.
How many guys keep the main thing the main thing?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, the standard is the standard.
Hey, well, guess what? The standard can no longer be getting to the Super Bowl.
Let's
not
that's
go soft.
That's a pretty good standard to start with,
Guess
man.
What?
Getting to the Super Bowl.
I could tell you right now. You ask Jim Kelly right now sitting in this chair, he would tell you both that you're full of crap because he knows the importance of winning the game when you get there. You've got to get there. You got to win it.
No, dude,
and
I
think
totally
Jalen
understand.
I think Jalen's embracing the moment.
But if they don't win it on Sunday, I don't think they're done.
I
think they're
didn't
back
say
in
they're
the next
done.
year or two.
I didn't say they're done, but are they back in the Super Bowl next year? I'm going to tell you there's zero chance that the stars align the way that they did this year with all the good fortune
maybe
this
there's
team
a different alignment of stars.
There could be.
It doesn't have to be one alignment, John.
Well, Saturday night, all of them aligned.
Well, you're telling me it's cosmic, and that's great and all.
Hey.
Now stop.
Don't do it.
Stop with
we need to know more.
God, man, that's a stretch. Cosmic. Come on, man.
I don't know. You have a speech impediment.
Cosme, I got fine.
Can't hear
Cosmic.
Can't
Jeez.
hear it.
All right, what else we got, Connor?
All right, we have a check-in here from a texter in New Jersey, no name, but they say, "I'm praying we blow them out. I think I'll be sick the entire game if it's close." That being said, Patrick Mahomes has only lost by more than 5 times in his career. I think we're most likely in for a battle and a one-score game.
Yeah, be ready.
That's what
have a bucket next to you, or watch from the toilet.
I will tell you, I just can't. I can't handle. I could not handle the Super Bowl 57 scenario. It can't be like 2-minute warning tied. I can't do it.
Dude, it's going to
Especially-
happen. I'm
how
telling
about
you,
this?
that is
How
what's
about
going
this?
to happen.
If the Eagles had the ball in that scenario where we go to the 2-minute warning and the Eagles have the ball, I absolutely can handle the scenario. But when you're sitting there helpless
With
like we
Patrick
were last
Mahomes.
time. Like we were last time.
Yeah.
It's just tough.
It's amazing. I love – we had Kurt Warner on. Again, you can listen to it again on the Fanatic or watch Fanatic.com or watch the YouTube. He straight up said, look, Eagles are the better roster, but they have Patrick Mahomes. Like,
Correct.
It's amazing. It's that simple when it comes to your analysis. That is a Hall of Fame quarterback who's been in the media now for a long time, and he gives you the most simple breakdown.
See, now,
Eagles better roster, they have Patrick Mahomes.
Now here's what I'm going to tell you is that is a true Bill Colaruloism. That's hanging your backside on the middle of a fence.
You're on a fence without a fence.
Put your feet in one side of the argument. You can't do the old, well, the Eagles are the better team. Oh, but
dude, you could totally say that about Mahomes and Reed.
You're not picking a side then.
No, I have the Eagles winning.
Well, no, that way you're not picking a side though. When you're doing that as an analyst, you got to pick a side. You got to say the Eagles are the better team, and I think they will deliver on Sunday. That's what they're going to do.
He didn't give the prediction, but it did seem like he was leaning.
It seemed like
Eagles,
he was leaning that way,
which is great.
I'm tired of the leaning. I don't want leaning.
Well,
I want people
he's got to wait till Sunday on his pregame coverage on the NFL Network and NFL Plus, John.
I got you. I just don't want any more.
We promoted it 8.5 hours.
I don't want any more leaning.
You know what? The only pregame coverage you need, with all due respect, thank you NFL Network for providing Kurt Warner for us, 4.5-hour pregame show with Bill Colarulo, Connor Thomas, myself, Andrew Salciunas. But before that, 7.5 hours. Well, 3 hours for you.
Right.
Combined 7.5 hours. Unless you want to work 7.5 hours.
And by the way, I worked it out well. I managed to finagle that not only will Silvana join me for a little bit of the first of mine for the first hour, but Brendan Gunn will also join me for an hour before
that's
your
good
show.
work.
So that way we get more voices, more celebration, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome Sunday.
Yeah.
You want to be on the Fanatic all day long.
Yeah, it's gonna be absolutely a lot of fun. We can't wait for it. All right, coming up next, we got another segment to play here on Radio Row. Our man Steve Weish will be joining the show.
Haven't seen him yet, and he better not be late.
Well, technically 9:45, but you asked him to come earlier.
I did.
And so he'll be here. Now you're telling him the table number.
I'm telling him right now.
I told you. See?
We better be here.
You know what? The New Orleans is getting to you.
No,
what happened? You used to be a
Settle
prepared.
it on your own
you
time.
used to be a prepared man, John. What has happened to you? All right, we'll be right back. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
To contend with, it will not be an easy task. So that desire will be put to the test coming up Sunday, 6:30 p.m. live from New Orleans, Super Bowl 59. This update is brought to you by Corona. Join 97.5 The Fanatic this Sunday at Patty Wax on South Street starting at 2 p.m. for the big game pregame show and watch party with Andrew Salciunas and myself. Enjoy $5 Coronas, $5 Modelo drafts, and exclusive prizes. Don't miss out. Details at 975thefanatic.com. Please drink responsibly. I'm Connor Thomas for the home of the 76ers and Flyers, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5 The Fanatic.
toughest stories you and I ever had to cover, the Michael Vick dogfighting stuff. That kind of elevated me to the national consciousness.
I told them this morning, I said, I did 6 straight nights of the 6 o'clock Sports Center.
Oh. Yeah.
And I know you had, it was a ton of face.
It was like 9 months of it.
It was craziness.
It was horrible.
It was a crazy story.
So what's the crazy story this year with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, man.
I feel like we go way back. I remember talking to you early on in the season. Sirianni, people wanted him fired.
Right. How about that?
And now look where we are.
Now he's probably going to get an extension.
Yeah.
Oh, he's going to get an extension.
He should. Look, you come in, 2 new coordinators, right? You're going to lose one of them all sense, and you win. You get guys to play the way they're playing. I mean, the one great thing about this matchup is both teams are playing almost identically the same, right? They're not turning the ball over. They're forcing takeaways. Everyone is playing with a venom that they're the 2 best teams. Like, these are the 2 most deserving teams. So Nick Sirianni deserves a lot of credit. I mean, not only for coaching up his coaches, but letting the players show their identities to where everybody is peaking at the same time in a uniform way. That is a hard thing to do, and it's why this organization, from Jeffrey Lurie down to the job he's done this season, coming through some of the turmoil and things like that, he deserves all the credit that's coming his way.
Have you seen a script flip like this before? Like, he was literally barking at fans in week 6 of this year.
Yes. Well, I don't know if that's going to stop, right? And look, it's why so many opposing coaches can't stand him. Right? They're just like, who is this little kid who thinks he's rewriting the rules of the game? But it works for him. If that's who he is, be the heel, right? Be the guy in the wrestling ring.
Mugging for the cameras and things
Fine.
like that.
If that's who it is, because if all of a sudden he changed and becomes straight-laced, everyone, you guys, like, what happened to that guy? We're 9-8. What happened to that guy? Right. He needs to go back to being, the yapper, the guy who antagonizes everyone. So good for him. It doesn't seem to bother the players. It doesn't seem to bother people in the organization. Everybody else hates it, but again, play the heel and win.
How do you win a chess match when you have to go up against Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes? Is there some formula that you believe exists?
I don't think it's strategy. I think it's player execution.
Okay.
I mean, this is where the Zach Bonds of the world, the guys who've had incredible seasons show up. Look at how they played in the postseason. Look at the Cooper DeJean, right? In the postseason has been unbelievable, and people are going to talk about the punch-outs and his open field tackling, right? In a game like the Chiefs, where it's all geometry, right? Everything is played in space. To have open field tacklers like him and the way the safeties are playing, that's how you win. You execute. You miss an open field tackle, Juju Smith-Schuster's taking a 5-yard play to 15, right? Travis Kelce is banging you for 9, 12-yard gains. We're all first downs. Right, you got to tackle, you got to make the play. So I think it's the players, their athleticism and execution that are the difference here.
You mentioned Zach Bond. His story alone is incredible this year. He's going to get paid. How much? Is he going to be one of the top paid linebackers after it's just 1 year of this kind of success, but it's successful, pro.
It's an interesting story because here's what goes on in these capologist general managers room with a player like him. Do you pay a guy who's not a sack specialist? Right? He's not a double-digit sack guy, but he's somebody who fills the stat line. John, there was a player with the Atlanta Falcons when we were there who did this, Michael Boley.
Oh, yes.
Michael Boley's stat line, he'd have six forced fumbles, 3 interceptions, 72 tackles, and 3 sacks. Right. But he tagged everything that wins ball games for you, and the New York Giants paid him. He would have had a pretty decent career with the Giants. So, again, if you're going to get caught up in the sack numbers, that's not what he does for you. But he does everything else to win ball games and make everybody else better. Okay, so a good team will say, okay, we're going to pay him and keep him because with the function and what we do, the guys up front play better because we have a guy back here who's going to punch the ball out, who's going to get interceptions, who's going to be great in coverage, and who's going to tackle on open field.
Now, I remember that you've been seeing a lot of the Eagles.
Yeah.
And seeing what they're about. In the 23 Super Bowl in Arizona, did you have Eagles that week?
I did not.
You did not.
I was doing both teams.
When you see the Eagles this time around, do you see any difference? Do you feel any difference?
Well, I mean, offensively, clearly they can run the hell out of the ball.
Yeah.
I mean,
attitude, sort of their composure, how they're carrying.
Yeah, I mean, they're walking around like they should be here.
Good.
I mean, that's the important thing. Remember last time it's like there was the uncertainty about is Jalen Hurts going to be able to handle all this? The first time media pressure. There's a lot of conversation. I believe at the time it was the first 2 black quarterbacks playing against each other in the Super Bowl. So he's dealing with all that, and he was a champ with it, right? He was the best player on the field that day, right? And so I just think now it's like, okay, we've been here before. We're a well-oiled machine. Our offensive line, you can do whatever you want because we got guys who can mash, and we got a running back who's got incredible vision and great speed. Right? No one talks about Saquon's speed, by the way. When you talk to defensive players, that's all they talk about. Forget his balance and all that. We can get guys to him. If he gets behind you, it's over. And that's the big concern. But again, I just think the fact that they know no matter what they do, if A.J. Brown's getting covered, Devontae can hit it. Dallas Goddard can hit it. But the fact that they run the ball so successfully is their bread and butter, that's a huge difference.
Saquon had a quote yesterday when he was speaking to the media. He was asked what his favorite play this year was, and he was talking about the touchdown.
Did he say the snow touchdown?
So he said the snow touchdown against the Rams, and then he said, but yeah, I did also jump backwards over
that part.
Like, think about how good of a season this guy is having that he forgot about one of the biggest highlights. When we're watching tape of this year, that's going to be probably the #1 play that people will remember and watch. Have you ever seen, like, what comes to mind? What player comes to mind that had a season like this? And, oh, by the way, is also still in the Super Bowl. John said it yesterday. This could be one of the greatest seasons ever for an individual in the NFL.
Well, because he was imported as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? I mean, this is a guy we weren't sure, he's injury prone, this and that. He comes to a team with a good offensive line. So we all said he have his best season, coming into the year because of his offensive line. But for him to do the things he's doing and not tell anybody about it, we're all doing the talking. What's the old saying? You don't need to announce it. You're great. Other people will do that for you. That's Saquon Barkley. Like, for him to do what he's doing, and he's peaking. Forget this age. Forget this 30 carries a game. He's getting, 28 touches a game?
And he's thriving.
And he's fresh. Like, all of the things we thought about running backs are thrown out the window when you're looking at him and Derrick Henry and this and that. And here's where offensive coaches are smart. They're not asking him to pick up that 240-pound edge rusher. That's the abuse running backs take that nobody talks about. Just give him the ball and let him do his thing.
All right, so if Monday morning Kincade and Salciunas are celebrating, and we maybe didn't even go to bed Sunday night.
I'm about to say, how early in the morning?
It's early. It's early. What is it that won them the Super Bowl? I'm not asking you to make a prediction on the game. I know you're reporting on it. But if the Eagles win the Super Bowl and they're the champions, what do you think will be the storyline?
It'll be the ground game. The 12, 13 play drives, keeping it out of Mahomes' hands. Because the one thing the Chiefs don't do that they did before is the explosive plays, right? Patrick Mahomes is their explosive playmaker in terms of running it for 13 or 14 yards. If you guys continue to win like the way you've been winning, driving the ball down the field, making them make explosive plays, which they don't do really, they can, but that's not their makeup this year. That's why they win. Plus they force a turnover, something the Chiefs have not done in the postseason. I think that's going to be the story. How about that? Well, the Chiefs have forced just as many.
Yeah, I mean,
But again, these teams are identical coming into this game.
Do teams watch the success of the ground game for the Eagles and go, maybe we should start going back to that a little bit?
Depends. I think it really depends on the team. If you know your offensive line is built with guys who catch, defensive linemen instead of push them, then no, you throw the football, right? If you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you say, you know what, we're going to take the ball out of Joe Burrow's hands. You don't do that. But at the same time, look what the Buffalo Bills did this year. They ran the football. They had a great offensive line. James Cook was a stud. It set up the play-action pass game, and guys like Matt Collins were catching 30, 40 passes this year. So I just think it all depends on your makeup. But I do think you can't look at older running backs the way we used to because, again, they used to keep these guys in for protection. You talk to any running back, all these Hall of Famers I talk to, when you have Terrell Davis, man, I had to pick up Willie McGinnis at 255 coming off the edge. He's like, that's what broke my body down. So we'll see. I don't think there's necessarily going to be a resurgence and everybody doing that again, but some teams will.
What do you got, 9.5-hour pregame on Sunday NFL Network?
Let's do it.
Are you ready for it?
I'm up. I'm ready for it. Do I have a choice? So why we lift all these weights, John?
No, that's what. Speak for yourself. Hey, awesome. Steve, we love you, man. Take care. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Take care.
All right, well, that'll do it for us today. The Mike Missanelli Show is coming your way next. Governor Shapiro will be joining them.
Governor Shapiro jumps in, yes.
So that's going to be really cool.
And
so
they're
make sure you
talking
listen
football.
To that. Talking straight up football, man. Again, thank you to FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. They made these moments possible for us. Also, our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union. Visit TrueMark.com or one of the 24 local branches to learn more. We'll be back at it tomorrow, Johnny.
Yes, we will. We want you to perform life-saving cancer research by contributing to the AACR. The AACR does such great work. The American Association for Cancer Research. Go to 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saved my life and let me come to Super Bowl 59.
Again, I don't want to forget saying this. I know you mentioned it yesterday. You said it again today. Big shout out to Connor, Brendan, and Haley.
I mean, they're doing such a great job.
Making our lives a lot easier.
And
also, Jen and Mike
Jen
here.
and Mike aren't bad either.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Mike Missanelli Show is coming your way next with Bill Colarulo. Everybody have a great rest of your day. We have one more day of Radio Row tomorrow before Super Bowl 59 on Sunday, Johnny. We'll talk to you tomorrow morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
All right, the Eagles, well, they're showing their desire to win. I'm Connor Thomas, and the Eagles, they have shown desire all season to put themselves in position to win Super Bowl 59. That game just 3 days away. But Jalen Hurts talked about prioritizing that desire over everything, including individual statistics yesterday.
Ultimately, my desire to try and find a way to win the game